Very good afternoon. Welcome once again to the fifth and final day of competition here at the 2018 Junior Track Cycling World Championships here in Aigle in Switzerland. We are into the final four events of the championships to be decided here this afternoon. Women's Madison final, the men's time trial final, women's keirin finals, and the final event on the track will be the men's Madison final. So lots and lots of laps to be completed during the race this afternoon. Quick look at the medal table going into this final day of competition. And Italy stand proud at the top of the league with 4 gold medals achieved so far at these championships. Germany lies second with 3 golds and 2 bronzes. France with 2 gold, 1 silver and 1 bronze as the top 3 nations in the overall medal table. A little further down, you see a total of the nations who have scored a medal of at least some colour during the course of the 5 days of the competition here at the Junior World Track Cycling Championships. So a quick look for you at the events you have got to look forward to, as we just gave you a brief taster. The women's keirin second round will be getting us underway in just a few moments' time, followed by the first Madison race of the afternoon, the women's Madison final, contested over 100 laps of the track. We then go into the men's kilometer time trial, and finally the race action is wrapped up by the women's keirin and the men's Madison over 140 laps of the track. So first of all, we have got our quick guide for you to how things happen in the Madison competition. In fact, the keirin competition, I should say, the first of our quick guides for you.
The keirin originated in Japan. It is a race for up to 7 riders. The derny is a powered bicycle which leads the riders around the track. The derny pulls off the track to let the riders sprint for the last 600 metres. The keirin is a no-holds-barred event, sure to see some fast-paced and frantic action.
So that is how the keirin works. Of course, we had the men's keirin earlier in these championships. The women's keirin has reached the second round stage. So 2 heats here, from which the first 3 riders in each heat will qualify through to the final for places 1 through 6, encompassing, of course, the medal finals in that one. And the other 3 from each heat will progress into the finals for the places 7 through to 12. There is the start list for Heat 1. The silver medalist from the sprint, Zhang Fanghu, there for the People's Republic of China. And another rider who starts as a favourite is Nicola Sibiak, who was the bronze medalist in the sprint a couple of days ago. Also a bronze medal in the team sprint for Poland. So there's a couple of riders to look out for in the racing. I'm very pleased this afternoon to welcome to the commentary point a good friend of us here at the UCI. In fact, he works here at the World Cycling Centre. He's a Swiss champion and a European champion, Gail Suter, who comes from Aigle, so his home track. Gail, welcome to the World Cycling Centre, and a great afternoon's competition in prospect here for the riders.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon. It's really great to be here. Nice competition all the week, and we're looking really forward to have great races this afternoon.
So Gail will be lending his expert eye to the action as it unfolds around the track, and already the riders are on the start line ready for Heat 1 of the women's keirin. So just let me give you a rundown of the riders in the order in which they will start here. Poland starting on the inside in the white and red. That is Nicola Sibiak. Alongside her, representing the nation, alongside her is Lithuanian Victoria Sumskaita. Adjacent to her, the rider from China is Zhi Fanghu. And then we have for Italy, Giada Copabianchi. And the final rider at the top of the track is the rider from Russia, Anna Dozhcheva. We also have a second Polish rider in this competition, that is Paulina Petri. So 2 riders from Poland represented in this heat, and away we go. The rider from Poland who is nearer the inside of the track is in fact Paulina Petri. So away they go. The electric derny begins its revolution of the track. 200-metre track here, Gail, which is slightly unusual in world cycling. So they complete 7 laps for the keirin, with the pacing bike leaving with 3.5 laps to go.
Yeah, exactly. It's usually a 250-metre track on the biggest elite competitions. Here it's a 200-metre track. So yeah, it changed the race. It's smaller curves, a bit more technical. But yeah, we saw many very good races here, and I think it's good also for the young riders to get used to smaller track, more technical races, and it makes some nice action.
It certainly does, and of course we have got the electric Derny pacing the riders around the track, a device that divides opinion in the world of cycling. Some people prefer the good old pedal-powered and petrol-powered Derny we used to have, but of course very environmentally responsible here. We've got the electric Derny, and it leaves the track now with the remaining 3 laps to go, and it is Poland on the front with Russian Federation in second place. Trying to make a move around the outside, the rider from Lithuania, Victoria Samskaita, and already at the back, the second Polish rider beginning to move up as well. So the 2 riders from Poland here, double the chances for them to take a place in the 1st to 6th place final. Still Russian Federation at the front. It's 2 laps to go at the moment, and now the move starting to come around the outside as the Polish duo begin to surround the Russian Federation rider. On the front for Poland with 1 lap to go is the rider for the 3rd place in the sprint combination, Nicholas Sibiak, leading this one out. Sibiak looking well placed here. A final challenge here coming underneath Sibiak. Oh, well, I'm not sure if that will be looked upon by our officials, and that was the rider who came through. There was Zhifeng Yu of China. Gail, it was a very small gap she came through. It looked to me as though Sibiak was already inside that sprinter's line.
But actually, I think the Polish rider went out of the line in the last curve, and the Chinese girl just went under. For me, I think it should be okay. She made it clear.
We'll probably get to see an action replay of that, so hopefully we'll be able to determine exactly what happened. But once you're inside that red sprinter's line, just like in the sprint, your opponent has to go around the outside. But as Gail observed, may well just have been a slight opportunity for Zhifeng Yu to make progress underneath Sibiak. We'll wait and see confirmation of the result, and it looks as though that has been confirmed, that Zhifeng Yu of China is the winner of the opening heat, followed by Nicholas Sibiak, and 3rd place for Anna Dotcheva of the Russian Federation. So those are the 3 who'll go to the final for places 1 through to 6. And of course, the prospect of potentially taking away a medal at the end of that competition. Samskaita, P3 and Capo Bianchi are the riders who will go into the minor final for places 4 through to 6. So that was heat number 1, and here is the lineup for heat number 2. And again, the top 3 across the line in this heat will also qualify into the major final. We have representing Australia, Anna Field, from Great Britain, already a bronze medalist in the team pursuit, Ella Barnwell. Germany, multiple medalist here with the sprint, team sprint and time trial medals already to her credit. Leah Sophie Friedrich, Shana Hazel Fulton for New Zealand, Iana Dushenko of Russia, who was a silver medalist in the time trial, and finally for the United States of America is Ivy Costa. Again, just looking at an incredible performance here from Leah Sophie Friedrich, another great German sprinter with those 3 gold medals she's picked up already during these championships.
Yeah, she made really great races, very powerful rider, and yeah, we saw Germany is a big nation of sprint. They have a lot of very good girls in this discipline, and certainly a big future for her.
Yeah, and of course the German team have got on their handlebars just a reminder that the rider who suffered that horrendous training crash just a couple of weeks ago, world champion as well, and they're of course thinking of Christina Vogel while they're riding here, and it could well be that Leah Sophie Friedrich is the next generation to follow on from riders of the great stature of Christina Vogel in the world of sprinting in Germany. As Gail says, real talent in depth here for the German team in the sprint discipline. So the rider who's joined the inside position here is the New Zealander, that is Shana Hazel Fulton, the black and white colours. Just to remind you that when the Derny comes around for the start, it'll be travelling at 30 kilometres per hour. The pace will gradually increase lap by lap. When it leaves the track with 3.5 laps to go, they'll be travelling at 50 kilometres per hour. And the riders have to take a position behind the Derny in the order they drew at the start. So that means that the New Zealand rider is obliged to take the wheel of the Derny when they come through. It's underway, ready for the start of heat number 2. Again, 3 riders, the top 3 in this heat. To the final, gunfires, we are underway. So keirin rules changed after the last Olympics, where we saw all kinds of hijinks in the men's keirin final, if you recall, with Jason Kenny of Great Britain. And the rules have changed a little bit so that the riders have to take a position as they draw for the first lap. It's changed the character of the event a little bit, Ken, hasn't it? So it's now the final battle really does come down as soon as the Derny leaves the track.
Yeah, but they also have a half lap more, I think, in the sprint, so it doesn't really change. But yeah, the draw has a bit more importance for the positions, and it makes some nice races. I think it makes also some order in it makes the riders wait a bit more on the sprint and not making the race before the motorbike and leaves. So I think it's a great new change.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it makes it a little bit safer at the start as well, rather than just trying to get the wheel of the Derny. Is the first rider in the line who drew that inside position who takes it up. So we've got 4 laps to go. It'll be 3 next final round. So the Derny leaves the track in the back straight with 3.5 laps to go. Still New Zealand on the front. So first of all, the move coming from Australia and a lot of field. Look to those who are trying to come along the outside here. Still second place for the United States of America and Ivy Costa. And look out for the German. Here comes Sophie Friedrich over the top. She's got the Russian Federation rider locked onto her wheel. That's Anna Tishenko. But as we come towards the point now with 2 laps to go, should have been on the board that time, but we're a little bit late on the lap board, so 2 to go here, and they will be looking for the bell very shortly. Here we go now with Friedrich. She's established now at the head of the race. Alongside her is the Russian Federation rider. New Zealand tucked into 3rd place at the moment, and we're coming around to the bell this time, so Friedrich well placed in 2nd. In fact, the bell wasn't rung there, so I know the lap board was a little bit awry there. The lap board operator just a lap behind, so we will just confirm that result for you. The rider's a little confused as well by that, but first across the line, I think, was the rider from Great Britain, potentially. The result, though, is confirmed as Ilana Tishenko is the winner, ahead of Leah Sophie Friedrich. Ivy Costa in 3rd place, then Sian Hazel Fulton, followed by Alana Field and Ella Barnwell. That is the confirmed result. Action replay showing you that action as they came across the line. The correct lap when the riders sprinted for the finish. So it is Tishenko, Friedrich and Costa who will go into the final, where they will meet Zhu Fangyu, Nicholas Sibiak and Anna Doshcheva for the Russian Federation for the medal battle a little later. Confirmation of that result on your screen for you. So the ride there from Friedrich, she just settled into 2nd place there behind Tishenko. She knew that's all she needed to do to secure her place in the final. Of course, she'll be looking for an unprecedented 4th gold medal when it comes to that final a little bit later in the afternoon. So that's the lineup for the final. China, Russia with 2 riders in there, Dovcheva and Tishenko, Sibiak for Poland and Costa for the United States are the riders involved. You will see that action a little bit later in the afternoon, but next order of business for us here this afternoon is the first of our Madison finals. And this is one you really do need to have a quick guide to what is about to happen if you're not familiar with the way that the Madison race works. So on screen for you now is all you need to know about the Madison.
The Madison is a team event. Each team is made up of 2 riders. The riders propel each other forward as they meet between laps. Teams sprint every 10 laps to accumulate points according to the following structure. 5 points to the first team, 3 points to the second team, 2 points to the third team, and 1 point to the fourth team. Points awarded in the last sprint after the full distance will be doubled.
In addition to the sprints, teams can earn 20 points for lapping the field and joining the back of the main bunch of riders.
Final standings are decided by points. The winner is the team with the most points at the end of the race. If there is a draw on points, the places in the final sprint shall decide the winner.
So there you go, perfectly straightforward, isn't it? So there will be 28 riders on the track, and one of them will end up being part of the gold medal winning team. Just to take you back to that second heat in the women's keirin, just hearing that there's a little bit of discussion going on about the confusion over the number of laps, and with the bell not being rung at the right point, and the potential that it may be rerun later. However, the riders now getting themselves ready for this 100-lap Madison final. And as with the keirin, as Gail and I were mentioning a few moments ago when the rules were changed a couple of years ago, so too with the Madison recently. It used to be a race all about gaining the lap, and that took precedence over everything else, but now it's pretty much a point race for 2 riders, isn't it, Gail? It's just exactly the same rules as the point race. Lap gain counts for 20 points. The sprints come every 10 laps now with double points on the final lap. So again, it's changed slightly the character of the race, which of course is one of the longest established races in the world of track cycling.
Yeah, that's true. They made it so to make it a bit easier for the spectators to have the same rules for every races, but for the racers, it's true that it's a very very new, and it makes the races really nervous and very fast. We had with the old rules some slower part of the race, and really riders focusing on the lap and not racing for the points. Now with points every 10 laps on 100 laps, it makes a lot of points, and you can't just wait to go get one lap and hope to win. So yeah, it makes really nervous races, fast races. It's gonna be very interesting. And here the particularity is that the track is 200 meters, so it makes even more sprints than usually.
Indeed, and the lap gain comes rather faster than it would in a 250-metre track as well. So we will see who manages to get an early advantage, if anyone does, in the race here. There were no qualifiers, by the way, for this women's Madison, just a straight final. And I understand that the riders will be starting in the order as suggested by our start list. So we are seeing the Australian team at the bottom of the track. They're Team 5, represented by Alexandra Martin-Wallace and Alice Culling. The other team on the front row here are Hong Kong, China, represented by Vivienne Chu and Ji-Wing Lee. 14 teams in total to contest this one. And the 2017 champions, that was the team of Italy, who were the champions back in 2017 when the Worlds took place in Montichiari in Italy. And today they're represented by Vittoria Guazzi, the Omnium Team Pursuit and Individual Pursuit gold medalist, and also Gloria Scarsi, the rider who is her teammate for the team of Italy. So half the riders start in the home straight, the other half start in the back straight. What will happen is the starter will blow the whistle to get the race underway, and then he will fire the gun next time around. And when that gun fire takes place, the riders in the back straight will set off, and then the principle of the Madison, of course, is to sling your teammate into the action at suitable points during the race. And it has to be a hand sling. You can't just kind of wave at them and say, OK, it's your turn. You have to physically make contact. Normally a hand sling, but there has to be a physical contact between the riders to swing the next one into action. The majority of the racing takes place at the bottom of the track, so that's where to focus your attention. And the riders who are not currently in the race are riding around above the blue stayers line. That's the blue line around the middle of the track, and then they'll be swung in as their teammate comes round. It's all very fast, all very frenetic, as Gail said a few moments ago, and you definitely have to keep your eye on the front of the race to see who's making the running, and of course with those sprints contested every 10 laps. So we've gone to great lengths to build up the start of the women's Madison for you. However, the riders are being called off the track as we speak. I suspect this is related to the matter I mentioned to you a few moments ago of the potential rerun of the second heat of the keirin. More information as soon as we have it. So much running around going on at the moment. None more so than our Canadian commissar, Wayne Pomario, who's just broken the record from running from the home straight to the back straight. So little discussions continuing about that, and the women Madison riders are leaving the track, so I think we are going to go back to that second heat in the keirin competition. Just to remind you, as I pointed out during commentary, there was a confusion with the lap board. It was a lap behind for the riders, and resulting in the bell not being rung. And although the order across the line was as we saw, and we now have confirmation that there'll be a 5-minute break in proceedings, and then we will return to the track with that rerun. Not often this happens in a World Championships, but there you go, with the rerun of the second heat of the women's keirin second round, due to the problem with the lap scoring in the opening heat. So, Gail, it's one of those things when you're a rider that you just take for granted. You glance up at the lap board each time past, and you assume it's going to be one less than the last time you went past. But I know, having done the job myself on the track, it's actually one that requires an incredible degree of concentration, particularly if you're doing it all day long. And it's very easy just to take your eye maybe off the track for just a moment, and then suddenly you've missed a count on the lap board. So a little bit of sympathy for the guy down there who is operating our lap board, but they will get a second chance to contest that second keirin heat.
No, it's true that the race is not so long, but when you focus really on your sprint and you have to check the other rider, really follow, focusing on your effort, you can't really watch the lap counter every laps. And here, as we said earlier, it's a different number of laps as usual on the 250, so it's very different for the riders. They are also new on the event. They are really young riders, so not used to it. So it's true that the lap counter is really important, and the bell makes the sound, and it helps us really much to know and to ensure the sprint is now.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that actually. It's more the bell that is the indication of the final lap rather than you glancing at the lap board.
Yeah, when you see a keirin race, you see the riders are really close, and they cannot just watch a left and a right how many laps there is left, and you're really focusing on the noise. So yeah, it's true that the bell is a really important in this lap counter.
So the riders who were involved in that one, listed on your screen again for you. The order that we gave you across the line is now struck from the history of the keirin in this championship, and they're going to rerun. They're given them a 5 minutes opportunity because it does take a lot out of you riding the keirin when you start that sprint with 50 kilometers per hour and 3 laps of it to do. So the riders getting the opportunity just to get a little bit of recovery before we bring them back onto the track for the rerun. And so Gail, a quick opportunity for us to just chat about your cycling career. Of course, European champion, Swiss champion, rode the Olympics for Switzerland, and you learned a lot of your cycling right here at the World Cycling Centre from a very young age.
Yeah, it's true. I started track cycling with the creation of this World Cycling Center in 2002. I'm living just 10 km from here, so for me it was just a paradise to have these chains. There were trainings since the beginning for young riders, and I grew up with this track and made my classes here. I've been able to work also at the office here, so yeah, it's a bit my second house in this building. It's a great facility with the office, the weight room, the gym, and yeah, I made all my trainings here, and it's a great track to train.
And I've enjoyed over the past 5 days having my lunch outside looking over the incredible backdrop of the mountains. It must be the most spectacular view from any velodrome cafe in the world, I think.
It's true that it's a great place. I traveled a bit all around the world visiting all the velodromes, but it's true that every time I come back here, it feels home, and it's a great venue. The mountains are not really the favorite places of track riders, but it's always great to have these landscapes for endurance track and for endurance trainings.
Absolutely right, and if you are watching our coverage for the first time and you're intrigued by the surroundings here at the World Cycling Centre, it's based amongst the towering alpine peaks of the Canton de Vaud Valley, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, and not too far away is the wonderful Les Cléments as well, which we passed on the train coming in, and of course those very famous cities, Montreux, Vevey and Lausanne along the shores of the lake as well, so it really is a superb place to come along to, and of course great skiing in the winter as well when it's a little cooler than it is here. We were last here for in 2016 when they first ran the Junior World Championships here, and we knew just how warm it was going to be over these 5 days, and it certainly has been very, very warm indeed, both outside and inside the track as well. But Gail, the temperature inside the track, regardless of where you're racing in the world, it always tends to be quite high because it favours faster times for the riders, doesn't it?
It's true. It's really important to have a pretty high temperature. We say usually about 26, 27 degrees. Now with the outside temperature so high, always above 30 degrees. It's hard. In general, the velodrome are done to be heathen, but not really can cool down. So I think here it's already almost 30 degrees in the velodrome. So it's good for times. We saw many world records beaten here, but for endurance races, like maybe we will see in the Madison or we had in the point race, it's really hard for the riders to hold this effort so high in such temperatures.
Yeah, they're getting a good trade in official UCI branded fans in the UCI shop as well, so everyone can keep cool. You can see one or two of them being deployed there by our very enterprising spectators. They've come from all over the world to celebrate these 2018 Junior Track Cycling World Championships. Of course, 45 nations represented. And of course, Gail, just in a couple of days' time, we have got the European Championships beginning on Tuesday. So a little break for some of these riders. They'll be going straight from the World Championships to the Europeans. And of course, those who've won a gold medal and taken the rainbow jersey will get to wear that during the European Championships.
Yeah, indeed, and that is always a great honor for riders. It's a big event because when you have to follow 2 major championships, it's a lot of pressure, a lot of work, and I think it's a great for the riders. It's a lot of work, but they will benefit all the trainings they had already this week and all the experience they gained this week for next week, and it makes a nicer event here.
Absolutely. So those European Championships getting underway on Tuesday. So just 1 day's break for to swap around the branding here at the track and get it ready for those European Championships, which run for the following 5 days. And just looking down there, the riders as they are just having a little bit of relaxation now. Those are the riders for Colombia for that women's Madison. They were already lined up and almost ready to go when the delay was announced for the rerun of the keirin. So must be quite difficult, Gail, if you've got yourself into the mindset you need to compete. You've even as far as coming out onto the track and on your bike, and then for some reason the event is delayed. It kind of throws your whole preparation a little bit awry, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's for all the riders the same, so you need to be a bit flexible. We see in the track it's pretty current to have some delays with crashes or any event. So yeah, you need to keep that flexibility, and it's really important to stay focused, really know how to recover and keep your mind in the race. For Madison, it's maybe a bit less important as it's a longer race. They have time to really focus again. The intensity is not that high straight at the start. But I think, yeah, for the keirin riders now, it's even more difficult. We saw the Russian and the German riders making long sprints, and when you focus for just one race and 5 minutes later you have to re-race, it's really hard to stay focused, recover, and really go all in for a second time straight after.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you for that insight. And you can see now the riders are coming back out onto the track. These are the riders for this rerun of the second heat of the women's keirin second round. If you have just tuned into our coverage here live on day 5 of the 2018 UCI Junior Track Cycling World Championships here in Aigle in Switzerland, I can tell you that during the course of the first attempt at this race there was some confusion over the number of laps, and the bell was not rung at the correct time. Therefore the commissaires have decided that in order to be fair to the riders, that a rerun will be had. As Gail was saying a few moments ago, it's quite difficult once you've just put all your effort into the full 7 laps of the keirin to be told you've got to do it all over again. But of course fairness is very much at the forefront of the sport here, so to give all the riders the correct opportunity, the decision to rerun it was made. So they will line up in the same order that they departed from the line on the first attempt at this one. It is 7 laps of the track, and the reason for that being this is a 200-metre track. Normally the keirin is run over 6 laps of the track, and the motorbike, the Derny pacing machine, will leave the track in the back straight with 3.5 laps to go. And that was a recent change in the rules, as we were mentioning earlier. It used to leave in the back straight, of course, but more recently, especially on a 250-metre track, it leaves in the home straight. And so all kinds of things that can just disrupt your concentration. But here we go. The heat is off and running again. The riders, of course, have to take up position behind the Derny in the required order, and they also have to take up position. So if it goes for too long without the riders being on the wheel of the Derny, the event will be brought to a halt yet again. But I think our starter giving a reasonable opportunity for the riders to get onto the wheel of the Derny pacing machine there. It's an electric Derny, as we mentioned earlier, and the old days of the pacer having to pedal as well as twisting the throttle have gone. It's all happened by electrical power now, and building the pace from 30 kilometers per hour to 50 kilometers per hour. Now, in the first run, we saw the rider from France also involved in the action, and we were looking forward. Sorry, not France, Germany. Of course, I meant the champion, the 3-times champion, Ilya Sophie Friedrich, came from towards the back and established a great position, but was challenged by the rider from Russian Federation, Liana Chishchenko, who was second to her in the time trial as well. So will we see a similar action this time around? The Derny is off the track. The rider from Great Britain, Ella Barnwell, is quite well placed here on the outside. It's still the New Zealander on the front. That is Shauna Hazel-Fulton. Barnwell on her wheel, and as we go into the back straight, the Australians, the rider with the most work to do here, and here comes up Friedrich of Germany once again. 2 laps to go as Friedrich comes through the line, being pursued by Tishchenko of the Russian Federation. Those two are having the battle here, first and second place. It is New Zealand and Great Britain locked in battle for third, but coming towards the line with 1 lap to go. We will get the the bell this time, then there it is. So Friedrich of Germany is on the front, being pursued by Tishenko of the Russian Federation. The New Zealand now closing the gap. That's Fulton of New Zealand. Can she get across? It is still Friedrich who has the advantage at the head of the race and will convert that to the victory. So Friedrich takes it from Tishenko in second, and third place for Shana Hazel Fulton of New Zealand. Let's wait for confirmation of that result. 11.947 for the closing 200 metres, and that is confirmed. Quick look back at the action here, and with Friedrich on the front, and that was just getting the better of Tishenko across the line. So another great ride from the rider from Germany, Leah Sophie Friedrich, taking place in the final along with Tishenko and with Fulton of New Zealand. So, at the second time of asking, we have got the lineup of the final for the women's keirin. And it'll be Lee Sophie Friedrich of Germany, Jana Tishenko of Russia, Shana Hazel Fulton of New Zealand, Zhu Fenghu of China, Nicholas Sibiak of Poland, and Anna Doshcheva of Russian Federation, who will be lining up for the final a little bit later. So 2 riders from Russian Federation in there, and we'll also be looking forward to a great final there. So we're just going to play the Madison quick guide once more, in case you've forgotten over the past 10 minutes while Gail and I have been waffling about various things while we're waiting for things to happen on the track. So here once again is a reminder for you what the Madison is all about.
The Madison is a team event. Each team is made up of 2 riders. The riders propel each other forward as they meet between laps. Teams sprint every 10 laps to accumulate points according to the following structure. 5 points to the first team, 3 points to the second team, 2 points to the third team, and 1 point to the fourth team. Points awarded in the last sprint after the full distance will be doubled.
In addition to the sprints, teams can earn 20 points for lapping the field and joining the back of the main bunch of riders.
Final standings are decided by points. The winner is the team with the most points at the end of the race. If there is a draw on points, the places in the final sprint shall decide the winner.
So there you go. Just another reminder for you about the complications that make up the Madison race. The history of this one, it was a race that was first devised at Madison Square Garden in New York, hence the name of the race. The French call it l'Américain for a similar reason, and it's one of the mainstays of the 6-day racing circuit, of course, that take place on the boards of velodromes all across Europe during the winter months, and it is also, of course, a world championship discipline as well for both men and women. The men's Madison will come up a little bit later, but for now our focus is on the women's race, and the riders who came out on the track a little bit earlier, then had an enforced break, are back now, ready for the start of 100 laps, 20 kilometres of racing, 10 sprints. So sprints used to be every 20 laps in the Madison, but now they're every 10. So as we were saying a few moments ago, it's much more frenetic action right from the get-go, because you're just 10 laps away at any point from a sprint, and all the points add up to the end of the race for both sprints and lap gains. 20 points for a lap gain, as you saw in our quick guide, and the sprints 5 for the win, 3 for second, 2 for third, 1 for fourth is the way that one plays out. So the whistle gets the riders underway, so they're all together in one group when they come to the home straight next time. The gun will fire, and after that point the riders in the back straight, well, they can join in the action as well, and then of course the changes begin and the race proper begins. Gun fires. 100 laps of women's Madison action is underway. It is New Zealand currently on the front, ahead of Australia, with Italy in third place. And the teammates here, they will look out for their teammate lower down the track. The New Zealanders are the first to make the change, and making the hand sling. Gail, that's one of the most complex parts of Madison racing, not only to make sure that you spot where your teammate is, but to make sure you can complete that hand sling. And the reason I said it's complicated is when you get it wrong, that's exactly what happened. You see the Italian team there coming to grief in the opening couple of laps here. The Italians completely flopping on the hand change there, the hand sling, and both riders ending up on the track. So we hope that they're okay, but there, unfortunately, Gail, was a graphic illustration of what happens when you get it wrong.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's really a very technical discipline, and you saw directly at the start the New Zealand and the Australian riders starting very fast, just to take safety and not having to stay in the middle of the traffic. you see very big differences of technique between the riders, and yeah, being physically strong is 1 point, but I think the technique in the Madison is even more important, and that will make definitely the difference between the races and on this podium spot.
Of course, the Italians were last year's champions. The other half of the Italian team is back in action, and as long as her teammate is off the track, she has to continue alone, so no handslings for her. And the rider who is back in the action, the red number, is Gloria Scarsi, and it's Vittoria Guarzini, the rider who was the winner of the Omnium team pursuit and the individual pursuit, now also returning to the track as well. And she actually came to grief in the elimination race during the Omnium competition a couple of days ago as well. She crashed, but despite that, she actually won the elimination race she crashed in, and of course the Omnium overall. So made of stern stuff our cyclists here, but an early shock for the Italians. And as we are about 2 laps away now, just exactly 2 laps away from the first sprint, and just looking down at the action, and the Italians getting back into the bunch here at the bottom of the track. The bell, and 1 lap to go to the sprint, and it is the race on the front here for 5 points. Let's see who's going to pick up the 5-point score this time on the front of the main field. And it is France from Australia who take the points in the first passing of the finish line there. We'll wait for confirmation of that sprint result to come up on our screens for you, to tell you who was 3rd and 4th as well. 90 laps of racing to go. And good change there from the Polish team as they launched themselves into the action once again. Great Britain represented in this race also by Fifer Georgian and Anna Doherty. They're actually the British Junior Madison champions, taking that title just a few short weeks ago. So it was France, Australia, Great Britain and Canada for the points in the opening sprint. So that gives France 5, Australia 3, Great Britain 2 and Canada 1 point. Who is in the action currently here for Great Britain is Fifer Georgie. The one rider has a black number, one has a red number. That's how we tell them apart. Ahead of the race, France and Australia currently just going into the back straight. Of course, if a team loses a lap during the course of the Madison, they take 20 points away from the total. And with teams only having 5 points maximum currently, losing a lap in the early stages will see you going to a deficit situation with minus points on the board. It's a good battle here from Great Britain to try and make sure that they can secure more points in the next sprint. We're 5 laps away from that. The head of the race now is in the home straight. So Australia and France and Colombia at the moment, Gail, seem to have the best of the action at the front of the race.
Colombia is actually losing the lap.
Okay.
So they were just caught by the French and the Australian riders. We see the 2 riders really strong. And yeah, already a half lap, almost the lap 1 for the two nations.
Thank you, Joe. I'm glad you're keeping your eye on the action. I was busy looking at the scoreboard there. Look up and see a Colombian rider. Of course, she is just about to lose a lap along with her teammate, but it's Australia and France who are at the head of the race. They shared maximum points in that first sprint.
And you see right now the Australian rider staying behind the Colombian, now staying in the French wheel, and now she lost the France riders, and the France is going to take the lap alone.
Absolutely, the French really got a great opportunity there to head towards a sprint victory and a potential lap gain as well for the French if they can make contact with the largest group on the track. It's often difficult to judge what that is now at this point in the Madison, because their teams literally spread all the way around the track here. So we're reliant upon our starter to point out the head of the race. That is the French team. The Australians, as Gail observed, losing a little bit of ground there. They were trapped behind the Colombians, who were in the process of losing the lap, and so they allowed that gap to the the French team, I should say, to open. So Australia still in second place, but the action continuing here as our leading rider is here now, approaching some of the back markers on the rear of the track here in the back straight, as they will be passing the poles there, just completing a hand sling as well.
And we see the 2 Italian riders back in the race, and catching the Australian back with the Russians. They're racing really well now.
Yeah, an early shock for the Italians when they found themselves floored in an early crash, but the 2 very strong riders here, of course, Vittoria Guarzini with already 3 medals to her credit, so they're fighting their way back into the action. But as we look at the current points scoring situation, France, having gained the lap, have 25 points now. They're the only team so far to have gained the lap. Australia with 3 points, and as Gail mentioned, they missed that move when France went away. The Australians, if they'd stayed with them, could well have got the lap gain as well, but they allowed the gap to open. France are the only team so far 1 lap to the good. Australia in second with 6, and Russian Federation in third place with 2 points, along with Great Britain. The only other teams to score so far, Canada and Italy. 72 laps still to go. So once again, the Australians on the charge, and seeing if they too can extract some 20 points from a lap gain here. We're at 1 lap to go to the next sprint. Head of the race coming into the finishing straight. It is still France who are leading the charge here. It's looking for the points, and they will go
for
with the Russian Federation.
In front of the Italians.
So again, we wait for confirmation of minor placings. So coming together now of the groups as the Italians back in the action, as we saw, and the French completing another neat hands thing there. They're the only team still with the lap gain. Now Australia have been credited with the lap gain, so France now on 30 points, Australia on 26, so a 4-point difference between France and Australia. The only teams so far to have made the lap gain. New Zealand, meanwhile, have lost a lap. So France, Australia, Russian Federation and Italy was the order on sprint number 2, and by virtue of those lap gains, France and Australia top the leaderboard, 30 for France and 26 for Australia. So the action non-stop in the Madison, as we promised, and the Colombian rider having an interesting race here, just trying to negotiate a way through some of the back markers as the other team making the change there on Canada as they just come through the finishing straight. 66 laps still to go, and we're 6 away from the next sprint. France once again have come to the front of the action. Great Britain in second place, followed by Australia. Great Britain are currently lying in 5th place with 2 points on the board from the opening sprint. And we're seeing a more select group of riders now here, Gail, at the front of the race. The teams who really are making the running at the top of the leaderboard are all currently together in that group, just going into the back straight.
Yeah, we see big differences here. It's really all the leaders and the favorites in this first group. And that was very close for the 2 Canadian riders.
Yeah, they had a problem changing last time. I can just interject, but to tell you that Russian Federation and Italy now have gained the lap as well. Exactly. So 4 teams now with the lap gain at the top of the leaderboard. Point situation: 30 for France, 26 for Australia, 22 for Russian Federation, and 21 for Italy. Who of course had that crash in the opening couple of laps and are now back and with that lap gain to their credit. 62 to go, 2 away from the next sprint. It is still France and Australia, Great Britain, Poland at the head of the race. And France extracting a little gap here as we head for the next sprint. Australia look set for second place. France just making the hands change just before the sprint line, but such as the gap they had ahead of Australia, they managed to complete the change and still retain the lead position across the line for the sprint points. So 5 for France, 3 for Australia, 2 for Russian Federation, 1 for Italy. And the sprint, in fact, that was the previous sprint, so our system not yet updated, so we're a little bit behind here with our electronic scoreboard in front of us. So just waiting for that to reflect the situation. France, the team who got the 2 points in that sprint from Poland with 1, Italy got 3, and Russian Federation with 5 points. So that was the outcome of sprint number 3. 57 laps still to go. So the French team extending their advantage. It is now 5 points ahead of Russian Federation. It's worth remembering, Gail, of course, in the final sprint, just like the point race now, there are double points available. That can make all the difference. Yeah,
it's a very important sprint now. You need to keep some focus for this last sprint because, you have 10, 6, 4 and 2 points awarded for this last sprint, and it can make a lot of difference when all the teams are so close.
Yeah, so it's just spiced up the goings-on in the Madison even more. That changed the rules in recent years. a little bit of a slowing at the front of the main field. It's been frenetic action right from the get-go here, but riders just taking a little breather there at the top of the track. For those involved in the battle for the top positions, of course, the top 3 teams at the end of this race will take away the medals. France still have the lead, 32 points. Russian Federation second with 27. Australia third with 26. Italy in fourth place with 24. Those are the only 4 teams so far to have gained the lap. 54 laps to go. So the Russian Federation team just being tracked here by the French riders. Great Britain still well positioned here. They're still just languishing outside the top 4. They are yet to gain a lap. They're the best of the rest who haven't gained the lap yet. The only team so far to be a lap down, despite the Colombians almost going into that situation. New Zealand, they're at minus 40 points. They lose their second lap. And France now move further ahead of Australia. 10-point advantage following the most recent sprint. Finally, our computer is updated with the most recent sprint information, so it's a little bit behind. So the current situation, as you can see on the screen now, France with 37, Australia with 27, Russian Federation also on 27, and Italy with 24 points. With still 50 laps to go, half distance go, but those 4 teams now look as though they're the ones who are contesting this race.
Yeah, definitely. I think we see the France really strong. They're really technically, I think, above all the other riders. We see the Australian also very strong, but I think they just missed one relay, and they also missed just straight after the second one, which cost a lot of energy. And now they already have a quarter of lap. They're back from the Russians and the France team. Italian and Great Britain is coming back, so it's gonna be very dangerous now for the Australian team. They need to make the efforts right now. So yeah, I think it was a very fast start of the race, very fast half race, and yeah, we saw all the riders needing to breathe a bit, and now it starts again, and yeah, we know we're gonna see really who's in for the podium spots.
Yeah, well, more teams losing laps there. Mexico and Hong Kong, China also go a lap behind. New Zealand are 2 laps behind now. And it's worth remembering, of course, the French team, we've remarked how strong they are, but last year, Marie Linné was part of the French team who took the bronze medal at the World Championships in Monticello in Italy. So they bring good form into this race, and one half of the duo was a medalist 12 months ago at the World Junior Championships. And they lead at the moment, 42 points now for France. Russian Federation on 30, Australia on 27, and Italy on 24. Still amongst those 4 leading teams, just 1 lap gain so far. The main action in terms of laps recently has been riders and teams losing laps rather than riders gaining laps. There's been a concentration now in the bunch. Teams have come back together. We had a situation earlier where they were spread all around the track. Now we've got one sizable group here, and now the team of Italy begin to accelerate on the front of that one as well. And of course, I've got the Omnium champion Vittorio Guazzini, who was also the individual pursuit and team pursuit champion. They've recovered completely now from that crash they had in the very early part of the race. We saw them both at the side of the track on the floor. They're quickly back into the action and trying to drag themselves up the standings. They're just outside the medal position at the moment, in 4th place, agonisingly close, just 2 points behind the team of Australia. 1 lap away from the next sprint. Here it comes. Looks like the French, once again, all that profit from maximum points here. They overhaul the Colombians. Italy on the wheel, and Russian Federation, Australia and Great Britain, the order as they went through the line that time. 39 laps to go. So good riding here from Great Britain. Remember, they've not yet gained the lap, but they are desperately trying to do so, because that will move them into contention potentially for a medal. The small gaps between the teams in 3rd and 4th place, Australia and Italy. More sizable the gap to Russian Federation. Of course, France, the runaway leaders at the moment, going into that sprint with a 12-point advantage ahead of Russian Federation. So the leading group, once again, into the finishing straight. Australia on the front this time, with the rider for Australia just looking over their shoulder was Alexandra Martin-Waller. She's got the black number, and you see on your screen there the rider from Great Britain with the black number is 5 for Georgie. She was a bronze medalist in the European Madison titles last year. So good experience for Pfeiffer of riding Madison. She's a great rider both on road and track. Great Britain 6 points currently. 47 for France, and Russian Federation on 32. So the wider that gap gets and the fewer sprints there are remaining, the more it's looking as though, barring misfortune, France could well be on the way to a gold medal here. They're ahead of the race once again, being chased by Poland. And the Australians also amongst them as well. The Australians about to complete the hand sling. How do you sense, Gail, the whereabouts of your teammate? Obviously, you're looking obviously around the track, but you need to time your move down to make the hand sling at exactly the right moment, don't you?
Yeah, that's years of trainings. It's true that first you learn to give a good relay, and yeah, the basis of the Madison is really to ensure to be able to give the relay before knowing where you're going to give it. It doesn't really matter if you give a relay in the curve or in the straight, but yeah, when you have some experience and you see the best teams, they will take the riders not in the race will make certain effort, riders at a certain space to ensure to give the relay at the best spot on the track to get ready and to have just one or just under a lap of the sprint and make the perfect effort to make the difference with the other sprinters and other riders.
Yeah, of course, there's not such a big difference in speed as well as you're grabbing the hand of the other rider and relaying them. They're going through the 30-lap sprint point now, and remember that lead for France is currently 15 points ahead of Russian Federation, and they are still on the front of the action here, followed by Italy. The rider just behind there from Mexico, and they are already 1 lap in arrears. Not too far away from losing another, I suspect, the Mexican team. They were amongst the leaders as they came through the line. 29 laps to go. Looking for confirmation of the latest sprint on the point standings. We get towards the business end of this women's Madison race. Just 28 laps remaining. Once again, the pace has slackened a little bit here. And with just those 4 teams with the lead lap, and France with that dominating lead ahead of Russian Federation, Italy and Australia, it really is anyone else's race to try and take the battle, certainly for the second place. The silver medal still very much alive between Russian Federation, Italy and Australia. Just 1 point between Italy and Australia, and just 3 points between Italy and Russian Federation. And it is a testament to how good a ride the Italians are doing as they've come all the way back into this third place potential medal position, despite crashing in the opening laps of the race. So the group are back into the finishing straight. The Russian Federation, Great Britain, France, and the other team just making the relay there were Poland. Marta Jasulska, third in the Omnium Championship, second in the women's scratch race final, and her teammate Victoria Keirat. The Poles currently in 6th place. They are 3 points on the board, so they've not really got the scoring that they need so far to challenge for the medals, and our leading 4 teams are the ones battling for the honours at the end of this race. We have got 24 laps still to go. Definitely slowed up now. And, at what point, Gail, does the fatigue begin to be a factor in a race like this? It's all been all-out action right from the start, and those legs do begin to tire towards the end, don't they?
Yeah, it's definitely a big point. As we said earlier, it's very technical discipline. You don't just have to ride, but you need to give relays. And very dangerous move from the French and the Russians. And
yeah,
this is small things that can happen with the fatigue, and it kind of goes to the crash and a medal lost for a team or another. So it's really important to stay very focused. We saw also the Italian just a bit staying at the back of the peloton behind the last teams, which already lost the lap, and now they just are alone at the back with the teams losing the lap. So it's the kind of things that can be really important and can make win or lose a race. You see all the favorites staying together, and the Italian just stayed a bit too far, and now they lost a half lap almost from the other end. Need to make the effort to come back.
Yeah, they lost that ground very quickly indeed. Meanwhile, the most recent sprint, sprint number 8 of the 10 in this race, 5 points for France, 3 for Australia, 2 for Russian Federation, 1 for Great Britain. So that further extends the advantage for the French team. It's now an almost unassailable lead, bar one of these other teams making a lap gain. France with 57 points on the board, Russian Federation with 35, Australia just 2 points behind on 33, and Italy a further point behind on 32. But as Gail mentioned a few moments ago, the Italians just lost contact with that leading group, and that could be fatal in these closing stages. We have got 2 sprints remaining, 16 laps of racing to go, the 2 sprints, and of course, as we mentioned a few moments ago, the final sprint counts for double points. It is Russian Federation on the front with France and Great Britain, and the team of Poland behind, Australia there as well. The Italians just completing the change. They are back safely amongst that group of leading teams. The Mexicans being asked to leave the track as they have fallen now 2 laps behind. The New Zealanders have already left the track. Hong Kong, China already 1 lap in arrears as well. Meanwhile though, at the head of the race, the Russian Federation team complete the next change. They'll be looking forward to the next sprint. It's just 3 laps away, and they are desperately in battle with Australia, just holding on to a 2-point advantage. So the Australians need to be watchful here to make sure that they can take some points in this sprint. It will be vital to the Australians in this battle with the Russian Federation. They're currently just out of contention for the sprint points in a couple of laps' time. The Italians making a move around the outside. France still well established there, and Russian Federation. But here come the Australians around the outside. They've left it late to close the gap, but now up into 4th place in the line. So we come around with 1 lap to go to sprint. The French make the change. Russian Federation on the front, followed then by France and Italy and Australia. Australia looking for that valuable point, but Russian Federation are ahead. If they get the 5 points here, they will move ahead of Australia with 1 sprint to go. As it comes line, it is Russian Federation, France, Italy and Australia who take that one ahead of Great Britain. So that will change the silver medal standings with 1 sprint to go. The advantage gained by Russian Federation ahead of Australia. So nail-biting moments going on in the last 9 laps of this race. It could all come down to that final sprint for the silver and bronze medal.
Yeah, now you see the French team really is just riding on the defensive. They just need to avoid a lap gain by a team. But for the 3 other spots, it's really close. Everything can change. You see now 6 points ahead from Russia, but with 10 points awarded in the last sprint, everything can change.
Yeah, France have 60 points now and the 20 points advantage. Russian Federation move up to 40 from that last sprint. Australia on 34, tied with Italy. So joint 3rd place for Australia and Italy. That's going to be a real battle between those 2 teams with just 6 laps to go. Australia are on the front, France second wheel, but then it is Russian Federation and Italy, followed by Great Britain. The riders now, as they go into the back straight with the final few laps of this Madison race to be completed. And France, well, they have dominated the race literally from the opening lap gain that they made. Russian Federation, Australia and Italy also with that lap gain. Too late now, I think, for any more teams to take a lap. The other teams who are battling for the medals will be so watchful now of any potential move. But it is France once again who come to the front. They almost don't need the points in this sprint, but I'm sure they're going to press home the fact that they're on the way to taking a world title here for France. But the Russian Federation team in 2nd place. Australia are losing ground here, and the Italians have moved ahead of Australia. They're locked together at 34 points each. If Italy beat Australia across the line in the final sprint, they will be the bronze medalists. So Australia versus Italy is the real battle going on here. If Australia or Italy can take the win and the 10 points, they can overhaul Russian Federation, but they are at the front of the race just behind France. So here we go. Look at the Italians and the Australian riders. They both complete changes. Australia just ahead of Italy now. It is France in the home straight with a lap to go. Russian Federation 2nd place. Then it's Australia and Italy. They are battling out for that bronze medal position. Over the top they go. Italy get the advantage. Australia make a late change, and they're coming into the finishing straight. It's a victory lap here for France. They are already celebrating victory. Russian Federation will secure 2nd place, but it's ever so close for 3rd between Australia and Italy. I think the Australian just got back by the very narrowest of margins. Certainly the Australian spectators behind us here thought that was the case as well. We'll confirm that for you. But nail-biting conclusion to that one, Gail. Literally coming down to the final sprint, and I think the Australians may just have edged Italy in that final run to the line.
Yeah, they just crossed the line in front of the Italy, and even if that wasn't the case, we just saw the Italian riders going out to the sprinter line in the last curve, which could cause a disqualification in the sprint and awarding the point to the Australian riders. but no deal for now. The Australian won the sprint between these two teams, so yeah, definitely the medal for the Australian.
Yeah, we'll just wait for the scoring system here to update in front of us, so we give the absolute confirmation of that result. No doubt, of course, about the winners with 60 points scored during those 100 laps of Madison action. It is the team of France improving on the bronze medal that they took last year at the World Championships, and one half of this combination was involved in that race as well. So it is gold for Victorie Berthaud and Marie Lenné of France. Silver for Russian Federation, Daria Malkova, to add to the silver she's taken already in the individual pursuit, and the Omnium at this championship. They're also the silver medalists in the Madison last year for the nation of Russia, although none of these riders are involved in that one. Her teammate Malina Malieva, and confirmed now that it was Australia for the bronze medal. 38 points scored for Australia. It did come down to that final sprint, and they outpaced Italy on the run to the line, and it is bronze for Australia, and celebrations in the Australian camp for Alexandra Martin-Wallace and Alice Culling. You have to feel a little bit for the Italians. Remember, they are the team who crashed very heavily in the opening laps of that Madison, got back into the action, so very close to taking a medal once again for Italy. We've had a great championship so far. They are currently leading the medal table going into this final day of competition with those 4 gold medals already to their credit. But it is France who are celebrating in absolutely fine style over there, with both riders receiving the adulation of the French team manager, who barely contained the tears as well. And that was a great race, an action-packed Madison right from the get-go, and really a great example of how to ride the Madison given by the French riders there. That experience, of course, certainly for Marie Lenné, who was involved in the final last year when they took the bronze medal.
Yeah, exactly, and we see it's a very young discipline for women, which started about 2 years ago, and we see already a very high level of races for these young riders, and it was a really nice race, and yeah, we see all the big nations at the front. It's true that you need riders in a country to practice this discipline, but all the other nations are not far back, and it's definitely going to be one of the major disciplines in track cycling for the next years, and it's going to bring a great event in Tokyo in 2 years, I think, with probably a few of these young riders at the start.
Absolutely, we're kind of at the point in the Olympic cycle where the new generation of riders are beginning to come to the fore, and of course these World Junior Championships are absolutely the best showcase for the very best junior racing talent in the world. And certainly the riders we have seen taking medals here during the course of the 5 days of action here at the Junior World Championships, very much on course to further success in the future. So we're going to change event now, back to a timed event, the men's 1 kilometer time trial, and here is our quick guide to the time trial discipline.
Cyclists are locked into a starting gate on the home straight, which is released after a countdown of 50 seconds. The rider with the fastest recorded time wins. In the event of a full start, the rider is permitted another start. Only 2 are allowed. In the individual time trial, men compete over a distance of 1 kilometre and women compete over a distance of 500 metres.
So the men's 1 kilometre time trial final. We had a qualification round this morning, and once again we saw a world record shattered here on the boards of the World Cycling Centre in Aigle, and it was taken by Thomas Cornish of Australia, who was, as you would imagine, the fastest qualifier with taking that new world record. The time he recorded in qualification, 1:00.498, and that beats the former record held by Stefan Ritter of Canada, which stood since October 2006. He posted that altitude in Aguascalientes in Mexico. So that was 1:00.578, but Cornish has beaten that one, and he, of course, qualifying the fastest in the qualification round this morning. He was second in the sprint yesterday, and he will go last in this one. The riders will go individually in this kilometre time trial final. First to go, representing Mexico, will be Juan Carlos Ruiz. And away goes the Mexican rider. And And we've seen strong representation from Mexico in these championships, and all of the upcoming nations, along with India in particular, of course, who got that great results in the keirin a couple of days ago. But we are looking for the time here of Ruiz of Mexico. It's a 1:03.654 in qualification early day, 60.623 after the opening 200 metres. And of course, with this being a 200-metre track, the rider's covering 5 laps of the track in order to complete the kilometre discipline. This, of course, used to be an Olympic discipline, but taken out of the Olympics in recent years, but still very much part and parcel of the World Championships. And Gail, of course, it used to also be a feature of the Omnium, the timed events, which were taken out of the Omnium race as well. How do you feel about that as an Omnium rider, when it switched the focus from the variety of disciplines to focusing just on endurance racing?
Well, for me it wasn't such an advantage. I was the kilo and the flying lap was really 2 of my favorite disciplines. But yeah, there is many points entering into account, and some moves had to be done, and we saw very nice races for this new format of Omnium.
Yeah, we sure did. Just to confirm the time there for Juan Carlos Ruiz of Mexico, it's 1:04.562. So he records the opening time in this final. We've reset the clocks, as it were, so even with the world record taken by Thomas Cornish and the fastest qualifier, still going to do it all over again when it comes to the final heat here. And of course, he'll have to wait for the next 6 riders to complete before he gets to try and convert that world record also into a gold medal, and to add to the silver he's already got from the sprint competition a couple of days ago. Next rider we will see on the track is David Boscaro of Italy. Boscaro was the 7th fastest qualifier this morning, 1:03.369. So quite a big spread of times across the 8 riders who were qualified. It used to be that the kilometre was a straight race, so we had the riders ride, and the fastest 3 were the medal winners. But in recent times, again, a change in the way the races are run, which often happens in the world of track cycling. And now, of course, we have a qualification round, and then the top 8 go into the final that we are seeing now. So there is David Boscaro, the man from Italy. Just a quick word of encouragement there from his coach. He'll be standing at trackside to make sure that he delivers on this 5 laps of the track. Final few seconds of countdown, tense moments indeed. Just getting the start away from the gate, and Gail, the start, one of the most critical points in the kilo. You've only got normally 4 laps, in this case 5 laps, to get it all out, so use full effort right from the start.
Yeah, there are different types of riders. You can see riders starting like more on a pursuit rhythm and really accelerating really strongly in the last laps. But you need to train your start to be technically perfect. And yeah, even if you start not so fast, it needs to be a very strong start. A lot of power and lactic resistance in this exercise. And yeah, it can really be already lost in the first lap if you lose your start.
Yeah, absolutely right. And the start from Boscaro wasn't as fast as Ruiz of Mexico, but he's come back to him now in the final stage. He's fast now, 39.732, with 1 lap still to go for David Boscaro of Italy. Here he comes, heading for completion of this one. Across the line goes Boscaro, new fastest time, 1:03.034 for David Boscaro of Italy, pushing Ruiz of Mexico down into 2nd place. And, the new fastest time is the one that the next riders who will come to the track for this one will have to aim for. Very specialist equipment, of course, for the kilometre, as with most timed events. Not a great deal of opportunity to take advantage of the aerodynamic bars and tuck position in just the very small number of laps that make up the kilometre. But as you can see, it all counts. And the Italian Boscaro there with the aerodynamic handlebars in front of his bike, the helmet as well. It's designed to slice through the air. Even skin suit technology these days is developed in order to make sure the wind resistance is as low as possible. So next to come to the start line will be the rider representing the Czech Republic. This is Jiří Luksik of Czech Republic, number 144. So just making sure that the feet are firmly attached to the pedals. Still the biggest danger, Gail, at the start is pulling your foot out of the pedal, and the riders these days, as well as relying on the clip-in pedals, also use a Velcro strap just to make sure that foot stays absolutely anchored to the pedal.
Yeah, they're definitely pushing more than 1,500 watts for the start, so it needs to be really safe and ensure that the foot doesn't go out of the pedal. So yeah, the sprinters add very often a strap over the shoes to stay on the bikes. This is what you see on crashes. Sometimes the bike's staying with the riders.
Yeah. So yep, new technology being brought to bear. The very well known sticky tape material that we mentioned. And the man who is employing that to make sure his feet stay firmly on the pedals has done so for the opening lap. It is Jiří Luksik of the Czech Republic, second at the first 200-meter split time in 16.763, so marginally slower than Ruiz at the opening point. Ruiz went away the fastest of all the riders who've gone so far, but now Luksik comes into the lead position, 20.002, so he is 0.4 of a second faster than Ruiz at that point. And as he comes into the second half of this kilometer ride, still holding the fastest time, 39.431. There is the bell with 1 lap to go for Jiří Luksik of the Czech Republic, trying to overturn that time of 1:03.034 for David Boscaro of Italy. Is into the finishing straight now and will be across the line. And second fastest for Luksik of the Czech Republic, 1:04.217. So not quite able to match the pace of Boscaro of Italy. And, in the first part of this final draw, that time of Boscaro looks like quite a good one. Next to go will be the nation of Germany, represented by Anton Hohne. Saw him in action in the sprint a couple of days ago. And, he will be looking to put himself in the 1:03 category as well, or hopefully better, because of course he'll be looking to take a medal if he possibly can. But of course the fastest riders coming towards the end of this classification, you've got to imagine that we will see potentially the medalists come from the last 3 riders based on this morning's qualification times. However, Anton Hohne is coming to the track now. He completed his qualification ride this morning in 1:02.648, so based on that form he should be faster than the riders we have seen thus far. But qualification form doesn't always necessarily translate into the finishing time, does it, Gail?
No, it's true that the kilo is a really hard event, and the recovery takes time, and is a very important point in this race. The time of the qualification is one thing, but being able to recover in a few hours and being able to redo the same performance a few hours later is something else. And yeah, it's definitely a very hard effort.
So that changed from the way we used to do it when it was just a straight final and you rode 1 attempt at the kilo in the day and that was it. Has really had some effect from that point of view, because the fatigue can now be a factor in the final.
I think the riders definitely had to change some point of their the trainings. If you do the effort once, the recovery doesn't matter at all. Now you need to make the effort twice in the day, and yeah, it's really changed the effort.
Absolutely. Well, Anton Hohne of Germany was fastest at the opening split time, the 200-meter marker, 16.213. Can he continue this pace? He is the first of these riders we've seen so far who beat the 1:03 in qualification this morning. If we can emulate that again, he will go to the top half the leaderboard. He's still fastest in 27.200 at the 400-meter mark.
In France, and very strong.
Continuing to build the advantage here, 38.246 at the 600-meter marker. So looking as potentially our new leader here, the rider from Germany, Anton Hohne, gets the bell. 1 lap to go, 200 meters away from completion of his kilometer ride. Good support here from the German crowd in the Aigle velodrome, and here he comes into the finishing straight to stop the clock on the line now for Anton Hohne of Germany. New fastest time, 1:02.358. He goes to the top of the leaderboard and pushes David Boscaro of Italy down into second place. Well, you can see the effort that Hohne put into that. Head down over the bars, as deep breaths at the end of that one to a little bit of recovery. But, as we've been saying, you do really need to put it all into the effort here. Just 5 laps of the track. And That's the difference between a medal and not. So, as Chris Hoare used to say, if you can still speak after you've ridden the kilometer, you've done it wrong. And that was a good ride there from Anton Hoene. So next to come onto the track, representing Australia, will be Matthew Rice. And the Australian contingent just behind our commentary point here will doubtless be in good voice to cheer their man on. They've had a pretty good championship so far, with a couple of medals in each colour from the Australian team. Matthew Rice hopefully will be able to add to that. Looking at his time from qualification earlier today, Rice posted a time of 1:02.015. That was almost 0.6 of a second faster than Hoene, who we've just seen take the lead in this competition. So once again, basing it purely on the form we saw this morning, it should be in the favour of Matthew Rice at the end of the 5 laps of the track. So he's just into the final 15 seconds of the countdown. It's a time when the nerves kick in as well as the adrenaline. And, you realise that this is decision time. This is your one opportunity now to try and gain a medal. And Rice just... oh, that was a very poor start from Rice. He fluffed that one. Gail, you saw that. He almost, as if he tried to go too early and then slipped the back wheel as he came out the gate.
Yeah, I think he definitely went too early, and the machine didn't open. The wheel stayed blocked in the machine, and he lost the grip of the wheel and lost definitely a lot of power and a lot of time.
Well, that will be disaster for Australia, because it's very, very rare that you come back from a start like that to challenge for an overall medal position. But as we were saying, the rider tried to go before the gun, and the reason they start in the starting case, it stops them doing that, keeps a very tight grip on the back wheel with a couple of brake blocks, and try as you might to try and leave the gate before it releases, it's very difficult to do so. And of course, the momentum you're already putting on the pedals results in the wheels skidding when the gate does release, and that is what was the downfall of Matthew Rice. He's improved a little bit actually to second place, so he's doing well to come back from that disastrous start. 39.247 for Rice in the 600-metre marker, trying to beat 1:02.358, and across the line he goes. And despite that poor start, he has managed to take second place in 1:02.682. Still 3 riders to go, but that was a good recovery there from Rice of Australia. When you can see again the replay of the start, slipping that back wheel, and it loses all the momentum you had just before the gate released, in the rocking motion the riders go through to try and make sure they're leaning forwards when the gate released. And despite that, a good ride there from Matthew Rice, coming back into second fastest time.
Yeah, that was a really strong finish. He started, he was over a second back, and made the comeback to almost 3/10 of a second, which is really, really strong with the start he had. Yeah, we saw 2 completely different races between the German and the Aussie riders. The German starting really strong and finishing the last lap, losing almost a second, finishing how he could. And the Australian riders having to start slower and building his effort on the 5 laps, which permitted him to come back. But yeah, the power he lost at the start, I think, cost him too much to close the gap.
Yeah, I think it cost him the lead, and it is Anton Hoene who still has that lead in 1:02.358. Next man to go, representing the People's Republic of China, is already in the starting gate. It is Keirin of China, who is man in the predominantly red colours here of the Chinese team. Oh, and a very loud exclamation from Liu there, as he prepares himself mentally and physically for the challenge that lies ahead. And the final few seconds of countdown, we'll see him launched away from the line. Let's see how good a start he makes. That rocking motion, needs to be leaning forward when the gate releases, done to perfection. I think that was a good start there from Liu of China, so that will put him in good stead for a fast opening lap. Out of the saddle to get the gear turning, settles now, leaning into the aerodynamic position. He's actually just using the lower part of the handlebar. Now he's into the position that gives you a slightly more aerodynamic position on the bike. You can see a very smooth movement down the back straight there, but second fastest start of the competition for Liu, and that good start reflected also in the 400-metre time in 27.297. He's still running second fastest time, challenge that second position currently held by Matthew Rice of Australia, still owner of Germany, who was the quickest at both 400 and 600 metres, and also in the opening lap as well. And and Liu of China still running in second fastest time, 38.523. So looking as though he might well challenge Rice for that second place. He's into the final 200 metres now as he goes through the bell. Liu of China is just coming into the finishing straight to record the time for the 1 kilometre, and the clock will stop for the People's Republic of China ride. Oh, he just slipped a little bit down the standings in that final lap. He was still second fastest at 600 metres, but by the conclusion of that one, just by a tenth of a second, just marginally slower than Matthew Rice. Again, a testament to what a good ride that was from Rice, despite the poor start he made. But Liu of China, third fastest in 1:02.721. So 2 riders still to go, and they are Jakub Štažný, the rider from the Czech Republic, who took the bronze medal in the spring competition, and the gold medal he took. He is the World Junior Keirin champion. So he was a bronze medalist in the European Time Trial Championship last year, so he's got pretty good form for this one. The time for Štažný in the qualification round this morning was 1:01.597. So not quite on the same pace as the world record holder, who we'll see in the final heat. But Štažný, if he can repeat his performance from earlier in the day, should be hopeful of moving into the top of the leaderboard, displacing Anton Honer, who still leads in 1:02.358. Matthew Rice, Australia, still second in 1:02.682, and Liu of China currently third in 1:02.721. Those are the only 3 riders to beat the 1:02 marker so far, 1:03 marker so far, in 1:02.721, 682 and 358 respectively. So here we go. This is Štažný of the Czech Republic. Underway. No dramas at the start for Štažný, and powering away, turning that big gear, and as soon as you get on top of it, settling into the saddle, adopting the aerodynamic position, swapping his hands onto the top part of the handlebars. He made the fastest start of everyone who's gone so far, 6.083. That was 0.2 of a second faster than the start made by Honer in the previous heat for the rider who leads the classification at the moment. Still fast at the halfway point, 27.199. So this does look like a repeat of the form we saw from Štažný in the qualification round this morning as he comes across the line now. Štažný looking good here for the Czech Republic. He's just dropped a little bit into second place at the 600-metre marker. So can he regather his efforts as we come towards the final lap? 1 to go for Štažný of the Czech Republic. The sprint silver medalist is looking for another medal here in the time trial coming towards the line. Štažný will stop the clock in the time of 1:01.830. So a new leader, the first rider to beat the 1:02 marker. Great ride there from the rider from the Czech Republic, Jakub Štažný. He did it right from the start, Gail.
No, it was a very impressive race from the Czech rider. He did a really fast first lap, but was able to hold it during the 5 laps, and that's the most difficult part. We saw many riders starting very fast and really dying in the last lap or the last 2 laps, and he was able to keep the same pace. You saw him just going into second after 2-3 laps, but he was able to keep the same pace and hold it through the 5 laps, which ensure him a silver medal, or maybe a world title champion.
Yeah, indeed, he can finish no worse than second now, because just 1 rider to go, and that rider is the man here who this morning shattered the world record. We mentioned this at our introduction to this event. It's previously stood to Stefan Ritter of Canada since 2016, but this morning, much to the delight of the Australian contingent, Thomas Cornish beat that world mark and established a new world record. 1:00.498 is the new world record. He needs to go faster than 1:01.830 to displace Jakub Štažný from the top of the leaderboard. And again, if he can repeat the form from this morning, then we'll be looking at a gold medal win here for Australia. But of course, 5 laps away from completing that. He needs to get a good start. He needs to make sure he can turn in consistent lap times and have plenty in reserve for the last run to the line. We saw Štažný just fall a little bit off the pace with 600 metres to go, but he got back and recorded the fastest time in the overall conclusion of his ride. So here we go, the new world record holder, the last man away in the men's junior time trial final. Lifts lifting the front wheel off the ground, such as the effort he made departing from the starting gate. And pushing a big gear as well. It is Cornish of Australia who is into the back straight. Let's see how his time is reflected in the completion of the opening lap. The fastest so far was by Stasny at 16.083. Cornish only the fourth fastest there at 16.353. So as Gail was saying a few moments ago, well, they'll be depending on building the pace here. With not a particularly fast lap, but now he goes fastest at the 400 metre marker. So he's definitely on top of the gear now in 27.190, and that is 9 thousandths of a second faster than Stasny at the same point. At the 600 metre mark, he is still ahead, 37.960. So this is looking good for Australia. Already the flags are flying here, but he's still got a little distance to go. We've got one lap remaining for Thomas Cornish. The new world record holder is on his way to a gold medal and the rainbow jersey of World Junior Champion. Here he comes on the scoreboard for the final time, launching towards the line and will cross it in a time of 1:00.979. Not quite as fast as his world record pace in qualification, but fast enough to give him the gold medal and the title of Junior World Champion. He takes the gold in 1:00.979. Stashny takes the silver, 1:01.830, and Höhner of Germany is your bronze medal winner in 1:02.358. So a blistering kilometre time trial competition there, Gail, and a deserved winner for Australia. The world record holder is now the World Junior Champion.
Yeah, very impressive race. We saw him starting with a very big gear. We needed a bit time to start, but after that he built the pace and could hold it to the end. It was a very, very powerful ride, and congratulations to Thomas Cornish for this title.
Yep, adding to the silver medal he took in the sprint. Now it's the top step of the podium for him when we bring you the victory ceremony a little bit later on in this evening's proceedings. If you are just joining us, this is the start of the man from Australia. So just lifting the front wheel off the ground there, the effort he was applying, just pulling all his weight on the handlebars, just lifted the front wheel, but he actually made a slower start by comparison with some of the other rides we've seen go in this one, but he built the pace very, very rapidly after that. He was fastest by the 400 metre marker, and by the conclusion of the ride, his advantage was considerable over Jakob Stashny. The average speed, by the way, of Thomas Cornish in completing that time in 1:00.979 was 59.037 kilometres per hour. No wonder he's having a bit of a breather in the back straight, because that was all-out effort from Cornish, but with rich rewards. He is the Junior World Champion. There is confirmation of the top of the standings for you. Cornish from Stashny from Höhner, Matthew Rice of Australia, Cornish's teammate, taking fourth place as well, so a good all-round performance from Australia in the kilometre. And the rider from China, Chi Lu, taking fifth place in the standings. So, hotly contested and a deserved medal winner. Great performance from all the rides we saw in that final from the men's kilometre. We will bring you that victory ceremony very shortly. But first victory ceremony of the afternoon will be for the women's Madison. The first distance race we saw, the start of proceedings this afternoon session, the final session of day 5 of the Junior World Champions. There are your medalists ready to go to the podium. So it was Italy, Australia and the Russian Federation who came out on top in the women's Madison. Australia had a real battle with Italy to secure that bronze. You were with us, we brought the coverage that a little bit earlier this afternoon. Yeah, but the Italians crashed early part of the race. They did come back very strongly, but weren't quite able to get the better of Australia in the final sprint by scoring the points they did in that final sprint. Alexandra Martin-Wallace and Alice Culling took the bronze medal. Russian Federation for the silver, Daria Malkova and Malia Malieva. And of course, the riders there who are looking forward to receiving the gold medals and the jerseys. So just indicating how warm it is here in the World Cycling Centre. Those are the French medal winners. And speaking of riders who are exhausted by the heat and the effort required, there's Thomas Cornish, still in recovery after the end of that incredible effort to take that kilometre time trial time. So the presentation party making its way towards the podium. present the medals and the jerseys and the flowers. So the award ceremony for the women's Madison final. The medals and jerseys were presented by Renato Di Rocco, member of the UCI Management Committee. And of course, the Vice President of the UCI. Broad smile on the face of the Australians. Had a great final couple of laps to make sure that they got the better of the Italians. Sure, the Australian contingent just behind our commentary point here will be celebrating along with them, cheering and applauding the two riders who get the bronze medal, Alexandra Martin Wallace and Alice Culling. They'll step onto the podium, bronze medal winners. Second place, and the riders who collected the silver medal, great ride from the Russian Federation. Same position that the Russian Federation team finished 12 months ago in Montichiari, where they also took the silver medal in the women's Madison. This time it's Daria Malkova and Maria Malieva who step onto the podium. Medal winners. Now to the winners, who will receive the gold medals and the World Junior Champions jerseys. Now it's the team of France, represented by Victory Berthaud and Marie Lenné. In particular, improving on her performance last year when the French took the bronze medal. She was part of that bronze medal winning team. And now here she is, just on 12 months later, pulling on the jersey, the rainbow bands of Junior World Champion. Santini jersey, our supporters of these Junior World Championships. The riders who secure the gold medals will also be asked to sign a souvenir version of the jersey for use by the sponsors. But first order of business is to make sure they're both in the jerseys, so we'll then present the gold medals. Sense of disbelief among the French that they're at the top step of the podium, but they dominated that race literally from the start and are fully deserving the title. They went into that final sprint, they could have come last in it without losing the title. So there they go, on to the top step of the podium, your women's junior world champions for the Madison of the team of France, Victory Berthaud and Marie Lenné. For the flower presentation. Some very nice blooms to congratulate the riders. And following the presentation of the flowers to the gold medalists, who will of course once again hear the national anthem of France to celebrate their victory. So celebrations for the French duo, the new junior world champions. Silver medal for the Russian Federation team of Daria Malkova and Maria Milieva. Bronze for Australia, Alexandra Martin-Wallace and Alice Cullen. So as they head away to complete the jersey signing, and also, of course, make sure we get the obligatory photo opportunity as well. They've been joined on the podium by another member of the French contingent. They've lifted him aloft, look at that. Amazing. Yep, you've got the rainbow jersey, he's saying. Yes, we have. And we're going to sign some as well. So whilst that celebration will continue, doubtless, probably for the rest of the day for the French contingent, let me remind you that the competitive action will resume after our next victory ceremony. We'll be seeing the victory ceremony for the men's time trial, and then we move into the women's keirin finals, and then finally the men's Madison, the final event of these 2018 UCI Junior Track Cycling World Championships, over 140 laps of the track. That's going to be a real humdinger, I'm sure. I'm looking forward to that one. But next up onto the podium will come the medalists for the men's kilometer time trial. Thomas Cornish, of course, taking out that gold medal, already a world record holder as of this morning, and now the junior world champion, Jakub Stažný of the Czech Republic. Further medal success for him, having taken the silver in the sprint a couple of days ago. And Anton Höhner of Germany is the bronze medalist. Well, actually, of course, Stažný was the bronze medalist in the sprint. Cornish was the silver medalist. I knew there was a silver medal involved in there somewhere. So those two both tasting success in the sprint competition, and Höhner also doing a great ride to secure the bronze medal. And last time we saw Thomas Cornish, he was lying on the floor, still endeavouring to recover his composure. And a testament to the amount of effort that's required. Gail, it really does take it all out of you, and it's quite difficult when an awards ceremony comes that quickly after completing a ride like that.
Yeah, it's not easy, but I think when you're a world champion, you find some power from the inside of you, and yeah, the first seconds are really hard, but it comes back pretty quickly. To be able to make a new kilo and be really ready 100% again it takes really time, but to go to the ceremony, I think he will find the power.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. There's nothing like the prospect of receiving a world champion jersey and a gold medal that aids at the speed of your recovery from the all-out effort of a kilometre around the boards here of the World Cycling Centre. Good crowd in this afternoon for this final session of action. Just 680 seats in the World Cycling Centre. It was actually built originally as a training venue, more so than a competition venue, hence the relatively small number of seats, but they've been well populated all week long during these championships, and people travelling from all across the world to enjoy the action. And the 10 championships for each gender that have been contested. Just a couple left to be decided, the women's keirin and the men's Madison, but here comes now our medal party. With the jerseys, the flowers, and of course the medals for the top three in the men's kilometre time trial. Van Dam will be the medal presenter, member of the UCI Management Committee. Of course, these championships taking place at the home of the UCI here in Aigle in Switzerland. And the first man to receive his medal is the bronze medal winner, Anton Höhner of Germany. Great ride from him. Proud moment as he receives the bronze medal. Second place, the rider who will take the silver medal representing the Czech Republic, Jakub Stažný. Keirin champion already, of course, earlier in the week. bronze medalist in the sprint, now a silver in the time trial. So he'll take home good memories of the championships here in Aigle. May well be staying on for the European Championships, you never know. And now to the presentation of the gold medal, rider who won't figure in the European Championships because he's from Australia. But he is the world record holder and the new junior world champion. It is Thomas Cornish of Australia who will receive the rainbow jersey and the gold medal. Australian flags getting lots of work this week. A strong contingent from Australia here to represent that nation and to cheer the riders on. He's not quite mastered the getting the arm in the sleeve competition yet, but managed it now. There is that splendid rainbow jersey of junior world champion on the shoulders of Thomas Cornish. And the crowning glory, the gold medal. So he is the new world champion and new world record holder for the junior men's kilometer time trial. Time for the flower presentation. General Secretary of the European Cycling Union making the flower presentation. Of course, it is time for the national anthem of Australia. The victory ceremony for the men's kilometer time trial. The medalists: Thomas Cornish with gold, Jakob Stachny with silver, and Anton Hüner with the bronze. So more signatures on more jerseys. Not the most cooperative writing surface, a jersey, when you've got a big ink marker in your hand, but signature is made. Thomas Cornish. No doubt the first of many. Rider with a glittering future ahead of him. World record holder and junior world champion. So looking down on the track, and our title confirms the next event you'll see will be the finals of the women's keirin. Dramatic moments earlier in the day when the second heat of the second round had to be rerun. But, those are the riders who made it through into the final for 7th through to 12th place. This is the minor final, as it were. Field of Australia, Ella Barnwell, Great Britain. Giada Capobianchi of Italy, Victoria Samskaita of Lithuania, Paulina Petri of Poland, and Ivy Custer of the United States. They will have drawn for the starting positions. And, as you know, from earlier in the day. The rider who draws the inside line is the one who's obliged to take a position behind the Derny when it starts its way around the track, picking the riders up at 30 kilometers per hour. Leave the track with 3.5 laps to go, and then its normal rules of sprinting apply to this 4 places, 7 through to 12 in the overall classification of the women's keirin. Rider who's drawn that inside line is Capo Bianchi of Italy, alongside her Ella Barnwell of Great Britain. Ivy Costa of the United States. Next in line, there's the Lithuanian Victoria Samskaita. Adjacent to her is Paulina Petri of Poland, and at the top of the track is Australia's Alana Field. So this is the lineup for the 7th through to 12th place final in the women's keirin. The Derny, there go the riders, 7 laps of the track. Settle into their required positions behind the wheel of the pacer. They're not allowed to overtake that pacing bike whilst it is on the track. She's gradually increasing the pace. Great Britain's Ella Barnwell in 2nd spot. Gap to open to the rider who's still firmly on the wheel of the Derny. That is Capo Bianchi of Italy, the American 3rd in line, Ivy Costa. 4 laps to go. So the Derny will leave the track in the back straight with 3.5 laps remaining. Already the Australian beginning to make a move around the outside here. This is Alana Field. Field takes up the head of the race ahead of Capo Bianchi, and Samskaita of Lithuania is up there as well in the green, yellow and red colours. Ella Barnwell of Great Britain launches from the rear of the string, and forcing the Italian rider to deviate her line off the track there. So Barnwell now at the head of the race as the Polish rider comes through. That is Petri of Poland now into 2nd place. But a good ride here from Ella Barnwell. She still has the head of the race. It looks like the American is out of contention here. So it is Great Britain, Poland, Australia, Lithuania and Italy, the order, with 1 lap to go. And now Petri of Poland begins to come around the outside. A late challenge here from Field of Australia. Can she get into the wheel of the Polish rider? They're into the finishing straight. And as they come towards the line, it will be victory for Poland, 2nd for Australia. The 3rd was a blanket finish between the rest. And in the battle for the 7th through to 12th place overall in the women's keirin, it is Paulina Petri of Poland who will take that one. Good effort by Ella Barnwell, Great Britain, to try and defend the lead, but Poland and Petri came strong in that final lap, around the outside. Just waiting for the result to be confirmed. 12.224 for the closing 200 metres, an average of 58.901 kilometres per hour. Riders here drawing for position in the next heat. And Gail, gone are the days of the playing cards and the clipboards. We've now got touch screen technology to make the draw in sprint events like this one.
Yeah, I've never had the chance to use them. Never did sprint competitions, but yeah, it's part of the technology and going forward.
I think what we found over the past few days is that some riders who wear gloves, it doesn't actually work, so they keep tapping at the screen and nothing happens. So the assistant who's got the pad in there and just touches the right box for them and away they go. So maybe we need to put some little touch-sensitive pads on the end of riders' gloves so they can press the screen on the tablet device there to make the draw. Just to confirm the result for you, it has now been brought to us on the screen. So it was Petri of Poland who took that ahead of Field of Australia for 2nd, Barnwell of Great Britain in 3rd place, Samskaita of Lithuania 4th, Capo Bianchi of Italy 5th, and Costa of the United States was in 6th place, and that translates from 7th through to 12th in the overall standings for the women's keirin. And we will turn our attention now to the final. This is the one for the medals, and the riders who will line up for this one, representing the People's Republic of China, will be Zhu Fangyu, already the silver medalist in the sprint and the team sprint. Leah Sophie Friedrich of Germany, the sprint champion, the team sprint champion, and the time trial champion. Shana Hazel Fulton of New Zealand, Nicola Sibiak, who took the bronze in the sprint competition, along with a good result in the team sprint as well, when they were also in third place for the team of Poland. And then Russia have two riders represented in this competition. It is Anna Dozhcheva and Yana Tishenko. Tishenko, the rider who took the silver medal in the women's time trial. So that is the lineup for the final of the women's keirin. Rider who has drawn the inside line there, following the formalities completed with the tablet you saw a few moments ago, is Leah Sophie Friedrich of Germany, already with 3 gold medals in these championships, looking now to add a 4th, that of the World Junior Women's Keirin champion. She is on the inside. Next to her for New Zealand is Shana Hazel Fulton. And the first of the Russian riders from Russian Federation. On your screen there is Zhifeng Hu of China. It's Anna Dozhcheva of the Russian Federation. And the other Russian rider, Yana Tishenko, is just above the Chinese rider Hu Chak. And right at the top of the line here is Nicola Sibiak of Poland. So that's the lineup for the final of the junior women's keirin. 7 laps of the track to decide the medals. So the Derny is poised for action in the back straight. As soon as the starter is happy that all riders are ready to go, the finger will be held aloft, a thumb in this case, and away goes the Derny. So this will pick the riders up at 30 kilometers per hour. And at the end of 7 laps, we will have a new world champion. Just short of the line, so that the riders can slot onto the back wheel of the Derny. It is Leah Sophie Friedrich who takes up that position on the back of the pacing machine. New Zealand second in line here for Shana Hazel Fulton. And the 2 Russians who are involved in this one, riders from the Russian Federation, and that is Anna Dozhcheva. To aid identification from a distance, she has the white stripe down the centre of her helmet, whereas her teammate Yana Tishenko does not. Between those two is Zhifeng Hu of China, the red, the yellow lettering. And bringing up the rear currently is Nicola Sibiak of Poland. So the pace gradually increasing lap by lap. The Derny will be travelling at 50 kilometers per hour, and it leaves the track in the back straight this time round. Friedrich looks over her shoulder. Looming large is Fulton of New Zealand. So the Derny will swing off. And Sibiak of Poland decides immediately to move up from the back. Russians trying to make her way underneath. That is Tishenko, but it is Sibiak of Poland who's now being chased down by Friedrich of Germany. So the bronze medalist in the sprint being chased down by the sprint gold medalist Friedrich of Germany on the outside of Sibiak. The battle behind between Tishenko and Fulton of New Zealand. Hu has found himself at the bottom of the track, so too is Dozhcheva. So as they come through with the bell, Friedrich takes the lead ahead of Sibiak, and it is Leah Sophie Friedrich looking for her 4th gold medal in the championship. She has got clear air behind herself and the chasers, and Friedrich of Germany will take the gold. The second place was a blanket finish between the rider from Poland, Nicola Sibiak, and Yana Tishenko of the Russian Federation. We'll wait for our computer to confirm that one, and it has confirmed that it was Tishenko who takes 3rd place on the bronze medal. But an incredible ride and another gold medal. Well, Leah Sophie Friedrich is now the junior world champion for the sprint, the team sprint, the time trial, and the keirin. I think you can say, Gail, for a sprinter, that's a full house.
I think she will be happy of her week. Now point to stay focused for next week and try to do the same next week at the Europeans. But yeah, we still a very impressive race from the German rider. Really focused, really controlled her opponents. She knows exactly what to do, and she made it perfectly. She had really the total pressure on her shoulder. Everybody knew she was the best, but yeah, she did what she had to do and perfectly controlled. A very good sprint from the Polish rider too, starting with a long sprint with 3 laps to go, taking the lead and holding the second place to the finish line. And close battle at the end for the third place for the Russian between the 2 Russian girls.
Yeah, we saw Sibiak do a similar thing in the sprint competition a couple of days ago. She certainly is a rider who has got faith in the pace she can bring into a battle like that one, and did attack very early, but in the final analysis it was the greater pace of Sophie Friedrich of Germany that delivered for her the gold medal and the title of junior world champion for the women's keirin. There is a picture of the 3rd place finish, and you can see just how close that was between those 2 riders battling for that one. Also, the battle for 2nd place was pretty close as well between Sibiak and Tushenko. But there is your medal winner. Another victorious day for Germany in the sprint disciplines. Congratulations also for the rider from Poland, Nicola Sibiak. Good ride from her indeed, to add a silver to the bronze that she already has for both the team sprint and the sprint competition. And there is final confirmation of the standings in the junior women's keirin. Friedrich, the gold medalist, Sibiak, silver, Tushenko of Russian Federation, 3rd, just ahead of her teammate Dozhcheva. And the rest of the riders down the classification, propped up by Victoria Samskaita. That one, and those riders who didn't make it into the finals classified further down, as you can see, right down to the bottom of the classification. So that was a well-contested women's keirin. The Germans could barely contain their excitement, and so they might. It's a great performance and a real talent has emerged in these junior world championships for Sophie Friedrich of Germany. So the final competitive action of the track is just a few moments away for us now, the end of what has been a great 5 days, these Junior World Championships here at the World Cycling Centre in Aigle. And we've saved the longest one for the last. Next on the track will be the men's Madison final, contested over 140 laps of the track. That equates to 28 kilometres, with 14 sprints. Rules exactly the same as you saw in the women's keirin a little bit earlier today. And the action guaranteed to be almost, if not more, frenetic as well. Hopefully we can do without the crash in the early stages we saw that blighted the Italians in the early part of the women's keirin. But we saw some very competitive racing in the 2 qualification heats that have brought these teams into this final. Just seeing that Korea are late withdrawal from the lineup of the teams for the final. But the teams you will see on the track will be France, Australia, Kazakhstan, Denmark, Japan, Russian Federation, Czech Republic, Germany, United States, Great Britain, Colombia, Italy and Argentina. So the riders just taking a few moments to circulate the track. And then they will line up, half of them in the home straight, half of them in the back straight. So again, we've got medalists amongst these riders who already had success during the preceding 4 days of action here at these Junior World Championships. Great Britain have Ethan Vernon, the rider who set a world record, only to see it taken away from him just a few minutes later in the individual pursuit. Still took away the silver medal in that one. His teammate is Max Rusby, that's the British team. They've got number 19 on the back, Rusby with the black number and Vernon with the red number. Also got the Omnium champion for the men's Omnium, and the silver medals from the team sprint, Donovan Grandin for France, black number for France, their team number 6. Australia have the rider who was 3rd in that Omnium competition, Blake Quick, so he won't be hanging about, along with Lucas Plapp, the rider who won the points race. So these days the Madison pretty much is a point race for 2 riders, so the Australians also will start as firm favourites with that great ride we saw from Lucas Plapp a couple of days ago to take the individual point race win. The Kazakhstan team with number 8 on their backs, Din Makayatov and Gritshin. Denmark team 22, Oliver Fredriksson and Matthias Malmberg. So the honour of firing the gun will be given to the winner of the Olympic Madison. Argentinian, well-known figure here, being cheered on, the riders and the spectators. Let's hope he doesn't shoot the lap board. In the right place, that's okay. Thumbs up, race underway. So there you go. The race has been started. Special guest starting Olympic Madison champion. Possibly half the Olympic Madison champion team anyway. And the race is underway for 140 laps of the track. So the riders in the back towards the swing into the action now. The Australians are the first teams to make the change, doing so successfully. Denmark on the front currently. The team of Denmark, Oliver Friedrichsen and Mathias Malmberg. They make their change. Instantly, another rule that has to be observed by the riders is they have to change underneath the teams. You can't change over the top of a team for obvious reasons, because if you get it wrong, not only do you bring yourself down, you also bring the team underneath you down as well. So they can be penalised if they're deemed to have made a change high on the track. Our officials keeping an eye out for those kind of indiscretions as well. So they look out very carefully. You've got the sprints take place that the riders do it in a relatively straight line and don't impede the progress of anyone else. So it really is a very, very busy race indeed, Madison, with changes taking place. Sprints now every 10 laps rather than 20, and teams trying to gain a lap. As we saw with the women's race, you can see fragmentation develop quite quickly, and the teams who are going to be the ones in contention for the overall victory will eventually rise to the top. A long distance though, this one for the juniors, 140 laps of the track, Gail, so it'll take a little while for this one to settle.
Yeah, definitely, and we see a very quick start again. All the team battling to be in the first position. The track is really narrow here, and you need to be at the front if you want to have a chance not to be too much in the traffic and making clear relays. So yeah, very nervous start of the race. All the Russians are already attacking, taking a few meters, and the first sprint is already in 1.5 lap.
Yep, Russians from Australia and Germany in third place at the moment. The Russian Federation team here looking to gain an early advantage. Gleb Srista, who was the bronze medalist in the individual pursuit, and the rider who won the individual pursuit, Lev Gonov of the team for Russian Federation. So two very strong riders indeed, and they are heading for the first sprint and 5 points. Second for Australia, third for Germany, and fourth place for Denmark across the line in the first of the sprints. 130 laps to go, or 13 more sprints. Remember, of course, the final sprint counts for double points. We saw that was significant in the women's Madison final. Too early to say whether it's going to be significant in the men's race, but already the Russian Federation team continuing that effort, and very often, Gail, you can look to gain a lap immediately after a sprint, but the other teams relax for a moment and you carry on the effort, and there can be a time when you can latch onto the back and make that all-important lap gain. Yeah,
now with the new rules, with gaining points every 10 laps, it makes really fast races, and now you see all the teams wanting to battle for the sprint and not leaving space to riders to leave. Everybody is racing really at the front, and I think it will be really hard for a team to go get a lap. I think in this first part of the race, it will really go for the sprints, and once we will have some tired teams in the race, we will maybe see a few riders having possibilities to get a gap.
We were chatting about how riders know the location of their teammates. I think the Colombians were relying on luck, because he'd had his hand out to make the change for a lap and a half there before his teammate finally got to him. But they've successfully made their change. Australia still at the head of the race, with Germany second place. Russian Federation coming over the top here. They're already at the top of the leaderboard with 5 points from that first sprint. That is, of course, Gonov and Srista for Russian Federation. They go on the attack again. Immediately response from Australia, from Germany, and now also from France as well, who are trying to get in on the action again. A change for the Colombians in the midst of that action, but it is Russian Federation, Australia, Germany and France at the head of the race, and Belgium trying to latch onto the back of that one as well. So it is full on here, and we're a lap away from the next sprint. Denmark are also trying to get into contention. They took 1 point in the first sprint. They'd like more, but coming into the finishing straight, it's looking again as though the Russian Federation. Oh, Australia, strong challenge. Did they get it on the line? We will wait for that one. It certainly was, Gail, very close. The Australians left it late, but came through very strongly on the outside. So just waiting for confirmation of that one. And France now come to the head of the race following that second sprint. making a quick change, retaining the lead in the process. Russian Federation all over the back of the French riders, then Australia and Germany, Belgium as well, and Denmark. Those are the teams currently in contention at the head of the race. We have confirmation of the sprint. Do we? Not quite yet, no. So I would be intrigued to see whether the Australians just got the better of Russian Federation on the line. It certainly was extremely close. Meanwhile, the main field being stretched out, one or two teams beginning to struggle now off the pace. The Italians have got ground to make up there at the back, and leading the next group on the track, the Czech Republic team are a little bit off the pace, along with Poland and Kazakhstan, Japan and Kazakhstan, in fact. So the final confirmation of that sprint, and it was indeed Australia, so they get the 5 points. They draw level with Russian Federation. They have 8 points each at the top of the leaderboard. Russian Federation 3 points in that sprint, France with 2 and Colombia with 1 point. So those are the current standings after 2 sprints of the 14 that make up this race. Again, Colombia got the wireless antenna out for the teammate. He's found it, he's grabbed the hand and he's made the change. You have to actually make physical contact, as you mentioned earlier. You can't just say, okay, you're in. And there's a disaster there on the back straight, and one of the riders coming down looked like the rider from Japan indeed, who just came to grief in the back straight, just being moved out of the danger zone there at the right of the edge of the track. Meanwhile, the race continues, furious action at the front, and once again it is France, Great Britain and Russian Federation. First time we've seen the Great Britain team in the mix here. This is the British champions of the Madison, the junior discipline, Max Roseby and Ethan Vernon, and they are up into second place at the moment, yet to open their points scoring account. So this might be their opportunity. One away from the sprint. Great Britain coming around the outside of France as they come under the scoreboard, heading for the sprint line this time. It's Great Britain from France, from Russian Federation as they come to the line. It's 5 for Great Britain, it is 3 for France, it's 2 for Russian Federation. Belgium just taking the 4th place in that sprint. And look at this move here by those teams who are involved in that sprint action has split the field once again with big gaps now opening to the rest of the race. Still, Czech Republic are struggling off the pace, but all those teams who were involved in that sprint are now chasing hard at the head of the race, and small advantage for the French riders currently. But Great Britain, who figured in that sprint along with Russian Federation and Belgium, are also there as well. Wait for official confirmation of that sprint. The way we called it, I think, is correct. Indeed, that is confirmed. Great Britain for 5 points, France for 3, Russian Federation 2, and Colombia with 1. So good news for Great Britain. They're getting themselves onto the scoring table as well. It's always good to get points on the board in the early part of a race like this, isn't it?
Yeah. I think you will see for the whole race quite the same teams taking points. You see always the technically good teams being able to stay at the front, and you see big advantage, straight gaps as soon as it goes to the sprint. Making a relay when it goes over 60 km an hour is not the same thing than having a relay with 50, and you will see many gaps, and when you have to close gaps, you make it once, 2, 3 times, and after you pay the effort. So I think the teams at the front now will definitely play the first spot by the end of the race.
Yep, that's absolutely right, and you can see that graphic illustration of how tenuous maintaining your upright position is in the Madison race. It was the Colombians who almost came to grief there at the back straight. And the current situation at the top of the leaderboard, 10 points now for Russian Federation. We've got 8 points for Australia, 5 for France, 5 for Great Britain, 2 for Colombia. And we're heading now to the 100-lap sprint. It's not too far away. As Gail was just saying, that the teams who are at the top of the standings are the ones making the running once again, with France and Great Britain ahead of Germany. British rider came down there and he's on the deck, so they won't get points this time. It is France, it's Germany, it is Russian Federation, and it is Denmark just heading for Colombians across the line there. But disaster for Great Britain on the way to that sprint, and the rider who came crashing down there was Max Roseby. He's okay, he's back on his feet, he'll just get himself back in composed and ready to rejoin the race. His teammate, meanwhile, Ethan Vernon, will continue with the race on his own, but drama there. Great Britain was certainly in contention with good points in that sprint, but that crash that felled Roseby denied them that opportunity. Once again, Russian Federation are at the head of the race.
Yeah, we saw the British rider coming a bit slowly into the race when he wanted to take the relay, and the speed difference made the relay impossible and caused the crash of the British rider.
Yeah, if you're travelling considerably faster than your teammate, rather than relaying them, you just pull them off the bike, and that's why it's very important, particularly on a track of this length where the changes come more rapidly than doing a typical 50-metre track, to make sure you can match the pace of your teammate Ethan Vernon for the British team. was charged with keeping their hopes alive whilst Rugby was recovering from that crash. Australia once again on the front of the race. 95 laps to go in this junior men's keirin final. 12 points for Russian Federation, 10 for France, 8 for Australia, 5 each for Germany and Great Britain, Colombia with 2, Denmark with 2. Those are the only teams with points on the board at the moment. Meanwhile, at the other end of the classification, Argentina have lost a lap and are minus 20 points. 93 to go, 3 away from the next sprint. Once again, Australia are leading the action here. The rider who's making the pace for Australia with the black number is Blake Quick, the rider who took the bronze medal in the Omnium, along with his team pursuit bronze medal as well. And he's hoping that they can hang on to the lead position here and take points in the sprint. They're in third at the moment. And they are 4 points behind the leaders, Russian Federation. Russian Federation in third spot here. Germany in the middle of the Australians and the Russians, as they have got 1 lap to go to the next sprint. Australians make the change. The rider who's launched into the action for Australia is Lucas Plapp, the points race champion. Here he comes, looking for 5 points on the line this time. Plapp of Australia gets the 5, 3 for Germany, 2 for Russian Federation, 1 for Denmark. So once again, the teams who are now developing into the favourites for this race have got the maximum points in that sprint. And Great Britain, good comeback here. Ethan Vernon on the wheel of the Australian, as those two teams have a small advantage ahead of the Germans chasing in third place. Into the finishing straight. Let's see if Vernon and Rugby can make the change more successfully. Yes, they can. Max Rugby bearing the scars of his contact with the track surface.
But the British rider is now not allowed to race as he's just losing the lap. In the 6A, you're neutralized on another team, but in competition, you have the riders of the team still in the race has to complete 100% of the effort. And yeah, it costs a lot of energy when you have such fast races. And now they're actually losing the lap.
So real effort here for Great Britain. They've got the wheel of Australia. They make the change, but the Australians are still the head of the race.
Difficulty of the French riders too, who made long sprints in the first laps, and now paying a bit the efforts.
Yeah, that's right. The gaps have opened at the head of the race, and as it all begins to come back together at the front, the Danes move up. They're doing a good ride here as well. They're in 6th place at the moment, 3 points on the board. And just missed out in the last couple of sprints. They got 1 in the most recently completed sprint, 84 laps to go. And at the head of the race, the Americans make their change. 2 of the teams who are the back markers here as the leading teams amongst them as well. And Australia just a little breather here as the action continues. The Italians are driving the pace now on the front of the main field. 2 laps away from the next sprint. Russian Federation with a 1-point advantage ahead of Australia. The Russian Federation have 14, Australia have 13, France third with 10. But they've got ground to make up. They're just about, I think, going to get themselves back into contention potentially for the sprint next time. Well, maybe they won't actually, they're a considerable distance behind. Here is the battle for the points on the line this time, and here come Australia taking on Japan on the line for maximum points in that sprint. So Australia continuing to build their advantage. Can they overhaul Russian Federation? Here we go as they cross the line. 79 laps to go. Japanese team make the change, so too do the Australians. And that was the order in the sprint. Australia from Japan, from Denmark, from Kazakhstan picking up 1 point. So Kazakhstan lost a lap in that melee, so a number of teams now a lap behind. Great Britain and Japan, Kazakhstan, Czech Republic and Argentina all 1 lap in arrears. Minus 15 for Great Britain now, unfortunately, following that crash that beset Max Rugby a little bit earlier. The struggle they had to get back into contention. So at the top of the leaderboard, Australia now have a 4-point advantage ahead of Russian Federation. France third with 10, Germany fourth with 8, Denmark fifth with 5 points. The Kazakhstan team, who took the 4th place in that sprint, they too are a lap behind with minus 19. And the French also struggling now, in 3rd place, but the Australians catching them down the back straight. They've got the Danes in tow as well. So coming through the line, Australia and Denmark at the head of affairs. The French rider with them as well. The rider with the black numbers for France is Donovan Grandin, the Omnium champion. So those 3 teams, then the gap to Japan, then the chase from Russian Federation, who find themselves losing ground now. So the former leaders, Russian Federation, have got ground to make up on that leading group, 72 laps to go. Danes make the change, as do the French. The Australians looking not to get caught up in that. Russian Federation have regained that leading group. As we got one more lap to go to the next sprint. So French and the Danes, the Australians make the change. Russian Federation coming through as well. The Australians accelerate down the back straight. There were more points to solidify the lead here. Australia on the outside of this group of three will get maximum points. France in second place, then Denmark and Russian Federation in fourth spot.
French guys are able to get some points even by losing the lap, as they were just caught before the sprint. So they were dropped from third to eighth position now from France, and leading extension for Australia, which is really doing a very strong race.
So this race is getting more and more interesting by the lap, because those teams who started off at having good positions in the race, France and Great Britain, are both having lost laps in recent moments, and so they are now all minus one lap. France the latest to go a lap behind, minus 10 for the French team, losing 20 points, but they had 20 from they had 10 from the sprints earlier, so they're at minus 10 now. And we've also got Australia now extending their advantage ahead of Russian Federation. The lead is now 7 points for Australia ahead of Russian Federation. Germany third on 8, and Denmark also in third place, joint third place with the Germans, also on 8 points, and a big gap down to the Colombians, who are fifth with 2. Italy, the only other team on the lead lap here with a point. They've got 1. The United States have got 0 points, but they're still on the lead lap. We have got 65 laps to go, and a big attacking move here from Denmark. Being pursued by Australia once again, and Russian Federation. They realise there's a danger move here from the Danish. They are in joint third place with 8 points, making good ground here. The man who is in action currently for the Danish team is Oliver Friedrichsen with the black number. He'll be swinging his teammate into the fray as well. And they continue the challenge. The Australians have regained that group, though, along with the Russian Federation. So that is the head of the race: Denmark, Russian Federation and Australia. Gap then to the French team, who of course are falling out behind, then Czech Republic and Colombia, Great Britain and Germany. And Germany need to make sure they can get themselves back towards the head of the race, because at the moment they are locked behind a couple of teams who are a lap behind. So the Germans might be the losers here in this lap sprint at 60 to go. Here we come towards the line for sprint points this time. Denmark, Australia and the Russian Federation, the order. France just behind them, I think. They'll wait for a confirmation of that one, but the Australians moving through well there to take more points in their battle for the gold medal. And the man who took them at maximum pace into that one was Lucas Klapp, the points race champion. The red number on his back, 59 laps to go. The Argentinians leave the race, the first team to exit the action, and the 8 laps away from our next sprint. Confirmation of that sprint, it was Australia from Denmark from Russian Federation. In fact, Denmark from Australia from Russian Federation from France. It was very close between Denmark and Australia, and the results just changed as I looked at the screen there. So Denmark credited with the 5 points, Australia with the 3, Russian Federation 2 and France 1. And Gail, Australia did well to come back though. They're actually quite a distance behind with a lap to go to that sprint, but they got back and almost got the points away from Denmark.
Yeah, they made a really strong sprint. It was a bit confusing as they called a few riders back right at the moment of the sprint. But yeah, we see a very strong race from the 2 Australian riders.
Well, the teams further down the classification having their own private battle here. The more teams now losing laps, and latest to go now 2 laps behind are Japan, Kazakhstan and Czech Republic. So they've lost a further lap. United States lose a lap as well to join Great Britain and France. So just now we have 6 teams on the lead lap: Australia, Russian Federation, Denmark, Germany, Colombia and Italy. And Australian riders have now got an advantage of 8 points ahead of Russian Federation. So this gap now is getting a significant one for the Australians. 53 laps to go. We've still got a few sprints remaining, of course, and of course those double points on the last lap as well. But the Australians beginning to turn the screw here, and the Russian Federation team in particular need to pick up as many points as they can in the forthcoming sprints.
Yeah, we see the Russians and the Danish making the race very hard to the Australian as a team, one after the other. And the Aussies responding really strongly.
Yeah, look at the power of the Australians once again coming around the outside. This time it's Blake Quick who comes through to take the points in the sprint there for Australia. And once again, they came from a long way out, as you were saying, Gail, and testament to the power that the Australian team are bringing to this Madison race.
Yeah, really, really strong. And the French guys not giving up. They just lost the lap a few laps before, and now they are taking again, trying to take it back. And Germans responding too.
So the French riders still stinging from that lap loss. They're the best placed of the teams at -1 lap, but that still puts them in 7th place overall.
And just a missed relay by the Russian riders, which can cost a lot of energy and can really be very decisive in the game of the medals.
It certainly can, because of course you've got to put double the effort in until you come back round to another point where you can relay your teammate back into the action. So missing a chance, particularly at this critical stage of the race, where things really are boiling at the top of the points table, can be a fatal moment. But the Russian Federation team still lying second. France with the winner of that sprint with 5, Australia with 3, United States of America with 2, and Japan with 1 point. So of those teams on the lead lap, it's Australia who once again get the best of that one. They have 29 points now, and they are 11 points ahead of Russian Federation, with Denmark on 13, Germany on 8, Colombia on 2, and Italy on 1 point. They've got their lap back, the Italians, so they are back into the teams on the leading lap at 1 point. So it's been a real yo-yo battle here for the Italian team, but they're back into the standings with 1 point now on the board for the team of Italy. French riders, they are -1 lap, -4 points, in 7th place, but at the top of the leaderboard. Still relatively close between the Russian Federation and Denmark, but Australia beginning to press home their advantage. 42 laps to go.
Australia preparing the sprint again, 1.5 lap to go.
They're not leaving it to chance this time by coming from a long way back, although
and just passing the relay at the perfect moment. 1 lap to go for Australia and Russia.
Absolutely, and for Australia, once again, it is the rider Blake Quick who is looking for the points, and he will get them. Russian Federation second across the line for Gleb Srista for the Russian Federation team. And Germany also up there with a point scoring opportunity as well. They're languishing in 4th place currently behind Denmark, Russian Federation and Australia, so that will have done them some good with the points they amassed that time through. But once again, the Australians proving to be the dominant team in this Madison race so far. We're getting towards the final few sprints, 39 laps to go. So just 4 sprints remaining to decide the outcome of this one. And those double points with the leading teams failing to gain laps on each other will be very important at the end of the race, particularly for the minor placings for the silver and bronze medal. At the moment it's still very close, but the Australians again extend the lead ahead of Russian Federation. Now Australia on 34, Russian Federation 21, Denmark 13, and Germany 10 points in 4th place. So those really are the teams, those 4 teams who stand the best chance of vying for the medals, and Australia will sprint by sprint make their position at the top of that leaderboard more and more secure.
And we see a really impressive pace with just 5 teams in the same lap. The British and Italian riders just lost a lap again, and we have only 5 teams in the leader lap.
It's all about lap losses rather than lap gains at the back of the race, such as the dominance of those leading teams as they continue to pound out a non-stop pace at the head of the race, which some teams are finding very hard to stay on terms with. The British riders making the change as Max Risby throws Ethan Vernon back into the action, but Great Britain are down in 9th place now, having lost 2 laps so far. The only teams to avoid losing laps so far: Colombia still only 2 points on the board, they're in 5th place overall, Germany with 10 in 4th spot, and Denmark with 13 in 3rd, Russian Federation 2nd place with 21, and Australia 34 points for them and the top of the leaderboard. It looks as though Kazakhstan might be the next team to exit from the race. One of the Kazakhstan riders is off the track. His teammate is continuing though, so I'm not sure what's going on there with the Kazakh team, but they're not going to affect the overall standings. They're in 11th place at -39 points. But at the front of the race, the all-important battle between Denmark, Australia and Russian Federation continues. And at the moment, it's Russian Federation who have the upper hand coming into the sprint. Australia in 2nd place, Denmark in 3rd. As they come to the line, it will be that order: Russia, Australia, Denmark across the line. And the French also picking up a point despite the fact that they are once again a lap behind at -4 points, but they still pick up the opportunity to score points, having lost the lap earlier. They're in contention along with those three other teams, but at the top of the table once again it is Australia who are looking to complete the dominance of this race. The Russian Federation team getting maximum points in that sprint ahead of Australia. Denmark third for 2, France fourth for 1. So Australia 37, still 11 ahead of Russian Federation on 26, and Denmark are now 11 points behind Russian Federation on 15. So the gap's getting wider at the top of the table now, and the positions of those three teams in particular looking more and more secure. However, the Germans are the other team with the possibility of being able to ease themselves into that bronze medal position at least. They're just 5 points behind Denmark. That's just one sprint victory away from moving back up into contention with the Danes for the German team. So they're taking very close interest in this one. They're in second place on the track at the moment, heading to make the change very shortly. It is Denmark, it is Germany, it is Australia and Russian Federation at the head of the race as the Germans complete another change and continue their battle to try and get into that bronze medal position. 5 away from the next sprint. Australians a little shake of the head there because they've been in a race here, a long race indeed, 140 laps when they began, still 24 to go, but the Australians have literally taken the race by the scruff of the neck at the early stages and continued to dominate it into the latter stage as well, with just the 3 sprints to go. That buffer they have, 11 points ahead of Russian Federation, is not unassailable by any means, but it certainly will give them a degree of comfort for the position they're in. So too Russian Federation now 11 points ahead of Denmark, but Germany looking for points in the next sprint to try and draw closer to the Danish team. And we are just 2 points away from that, and of course, as you would expect, the Germans have come to the front. Almost an accident there with the American rider as the Australians completed the change, didn't be able to hold it up, but here we go. Once again it's Australia on the front, but Germany second place. The Danes realise the danger the Germans present here. It is Australia, a quick look over the shoulder for points for Australia for 5. Germany just, I think, ahead of Denmark. Yeah, I think yes. That was closely contested there, wasn't it?
Yeah, very close, but we see the German maybe not as strong as the Russian and the Danish, but racing really well, making a minimum of effort, really well placed, and getting points for a minimum of effort. So they're still in the battle. So we will see how it goes for the 2 last sprints.
Well, the field really has thinned out now. Czech Republic, Argentina, Kazakhstan, Japan and Great Britain all out of the race, leaving just 8 teams left on the track. And of those, Australia have 42 points, Russian Federation have 27, Denmark have 17. So they closed the gap by 1 point, but Germany now up to 13 points. So 4 points separating Germany from Denmark, with still just 2 sprints to go. The last sprint, of course, double points. Again, it will be all important for the medal situation, particularly in the battle for the bronze medal, that final double point sprint. Australians still on the front. It has been an incredible effort from these 2 riders, Blake Quick and Lucas Plapp. Both have been on the podium already at these championships. Gold for Plapp in the point race, and 2 bronze medals for Blake in the Omnium and the team pursuit, along of course with Plapp in that team pursuit squad. So it's been a great championship for the Australians, and if they can crown that with a victory here in the longest race in the championships, the Madison, then they will go home a very happy nation indeed. Pace slackening a little bit as fatigue begins to take a hold, but the Danes are the next team to go on the attack.
Yeah, very rare image of Madison break like that. In general, it really goes all in during the whole race, but now you see that the race was really fast and all the teams need to breathe. There's a world title in to win, and everything is close, so everybody's Australian missing a change. So yeah, a lot of pressure on the riders, round of observation, and 2 laps to go for the next sprint.
Yeah, that's a sign of the fatigue beginning to affect the Australians there as they missed that all-important change. But with just the 2 sprints remaining, if they can pick up points in this one, and they're still in 3rd place here behind Russian Federation.
And the German again in the 2nd position.
Yep, and 1 lap to go to the sprint. Russian Federation and Germany. The French riders involved in this well, even though they're a lap behind. The Philippines also well placed. The Australians almost 5th to change again. That delayed the Australians a little bit. They've got to fight back here to try and pick up 3rd place in this sprint. It is Russian Federation, it is Germany, it is France and it is Australia for 1 point ahead of Denmark. Well, Germany are the team who have profited in that one, ahead of Denmark, who missed out on the points in that sprint.
Yeah, they're just coming back 1 point behind the Denmark, so it's going to be really close for the next sprint. Now the German pushing hard to avoid a comeback of the Danish riders. So yeah, it's going to be very, very close till the end.
So 9 laps to go. It'll be 8 this time when they come through the line. Australia now have an advantage of 11 points ahead of Russian Federation. Barring a lap gain, and we've not seen one of those in this entire Madison, the Australian team cannot be overtaken now, even with the double points in the final sprint for Russian Federation. Denmark, 17 points. Again, they will be unable to challenge Russian Federation, but Germany just 1 point behind Denmark. That's where the battle will be in this final sprint for the bronze medal between Germany and Denmark, separated by only 1 point in favour of the Danish team. But the situations on the track, well, they're looking at each other, as you would imagine, making sure they know exactly where each other are. The Germans and the Danes together. A little further down the string, the Danes making the change, so too the Australians as well. This has been a full-on action right from the start. 140 laps of absolutely top-quality Madison racing here for the Junior Championships. And with 5 laps to go at the head of the race, the team who cannot be beaten, barring a very, very unlikely lap gain now. If they manage to hold off, and they almost took out the Danish team there. Well, I just was saying what a great race it has been. We almost had disaster though with 4 laps to go, but both teams stayed upright. It was Australia and Denmark who came together on the far end of the track. Now the Danes begin to accelerate. They know they've got just a 1 point advantage ahead of Germany. Germany fighting hard. They're tiring here though now. The Germans out of position for points in that final sprint. We're just 2 laps away with a bell next time around. The Danes determined to get the 10 points here. Now here come the Germans. They're on the wheel. The Australians are in 3rd place. Russian Federation in 2nd. Coming around with the final lap to go. Denmark on the front. Then Russian Federation. Then Australia. Then Germany. The Germans will pick up 1 point here, but the Danes are looking for the double points. 10 the Germans will get to, won't be enough. Denmark winning the sprint will get the bronze medal. They will go to 27 points. Russian Federation will take the silver, but the riders who are already celebrating the World Junior Madison champions are the team of Australia.
Very strong race from the Australian, and the 2 other teams are on the podium. The German weren't far. They prepared perfectly the last sprint, but were blocked behind the Australian when the Danish and the Australian touched with 5 laps to go. So it was really close. And I just got Australian helmet.
A gift of a helmet.
A gift of a helmet.
Yeah, we've got the matching visor as well. So a slightly ill-directed disposal of the helmet from one of the teams there. Almost took out my co-commentator here, Gail, but good catch he made. Didn't manage to get the visor, but he got the helmet.
Yeah.
So that was half a success. So the Australians are celebrating, as you would imagine, much to the delight of the Australian contingent here. It almost came to grief, though, between the battle with Denmark, who were desperate to get to the front of that one to get the maximum points. Almost came to blows with the Australians on the banking at the top of the track, but both survived, and both survived to take medals in the final sprint in the race. We're still waiting for the final confirmed result on our screen, but the Australians know that they are the winners. The Russian Federation team, of course, were in an unassailable position for 2nd place, and that sprint victory for Denmark should take them up to 27 points and secure for them the bronze medal. Well, that's what excitement is all about in Madison racing. And credit to all the riders. We saw a very, very competitive race right from the start. And there is the current standings. It doesn't incorporate the final points. So we'll just hang on for that one, because Denmark will be further ahead of Germany than that when we add the points scored in that final sprint. But the relative positions are the same. It is Australia, Russian Federation and Denmark. Half an hour of racing there, 30 minutes and 44 seconds, average speed of 54.653 kilometers per hour, a testament to just how quickly that race was completed. And we're just waiting for the I's to be dotted and the T's to be crossed to make absolutely sure that that is the way the medals will go. But the Australians being congratulated by the Russian Federation riders. They know they've been in a bike race here. And great ride also from the Danish to make sure that they could take that bronze medal ahead of Germany, who put up a strong challenge, it has to be said, but just found themselves distanced in the last couple of sprints, and that made all the difference. So the blonde boys from Australia, not sure how many are natural and how many are out of a bottle, but they've all come to this championship as blondes, and they're all celebrating, as you would expect, with the Australian contingent in the crowd, taking the final competitive victory in these championships, the title of men's junior Madison champions. And we will see them on the podium very, very shortly. But ahead of that, we will have the victory ceremony for the women's keirin. More photo opportunities for those two guys from Australia, Blake Quick and Lucas Plapp. Blake is the rider with the more traditional Australian flag in his hand. Lucas has the yellow and green one. More photo opportunities. So there you go, Russians already on the bikes warming down. And that's a vital part actually at the end of a race like that, as we wait for these victory ceremonies, Gail. It may surprise people to see the riders having just ridden 140 laps and the first thing to do is get back on the bike, but it's all important to make sure that you warm down properly at the end of a race like that.
Yeah, it is very important when you have 30 minutes of high intensity effort like that. You need to warm down, to take the acid out of the legs, and really it helps the body to recover. And don't forget that these riders will race the European Championships next week. So yes, this championship is over, but there's no rest now. It's straight focusing on next week. So it will be a cool down and then straight to the podium before going back to the hotel for a massage after the shower.
Yep, that's what a bike rider's life is pretty much all about. You race, you eat, you shower, you massage, and you do it all again the next day. But the rewards are rich indeed for world titles, gold medals, and of course that coveted rainbow jersey of junior world champion. So we'll now take you down to track centre for our remaining two victory ceremonies that will bring these championships to an end. The first of which is for the women's keirin. The riders who are involved in that battle for honours in the keirin. The medal party already on its way to the podium. So all of the riders who are about to receive medals already tasted success in these championships. Bronze medal for Yana Tishenko of the Russian Federation. Silver medalist in the time trial. There you can see the beautiful medal that marks your success at these Junior World Championships. So, bronze medal to the rider from Russian Federation, Yana Tishenko. Second place finisher, bronze medalist in the sprint and the team sprint, now silver in the keirin for Poland's Nikola Sibiak. So, very broad smile from Nikola Sibiak. She's pleased with that one, and I imagine a similarly broad smile will be on the face of a rider who is now taking her fourth gold medal at these championships. The sprint champion, the team sprint champion, the time trial champion is now the keirin champion. For Germany, Leah Sophie Friedrich will receive the gold medal and the junior world champions rainbow jersey. So there we go, another one for the collection, which will be sizable at the end of these championships, and the gold medal as well. Now time to present the flowers. And believe me, that is a name to keep your eye on in the coming years. Real sprint talent there from Germany, Leah Sophie Friedrich. Completion of the flower presentation, once again, Sophie Friedrich will stand on the top step of the podium whilst we play the German national anthem. Sophie Friedrich, junior world champion for the Keirin, joined on the top step of the podium by the silver medalist Tiana Tichenko of Russian Federation and the silver medalist Nicholas Sibiak of Poland. That's a great photo for the album. I'll head off now for more photos and for Sophie Friedrich, our signings of the jersey. We have one more victory ceremony to bring you. That will be for the men's Madison that we have just seen completed a few moments ago. Just while we tee up that medal ceremony for you, let me thank Gail Suter, who's been alongside me in the commentary position here this afternoon. First time he's done it, great job he's done as well, so thank you, Gail. And it's been our pleasure to be with you here in your hometown of Aigle for these championships. It's been a great week, I'm sure you'd agree.
Yeah, it was a great week, and thank you very much for the invitation.
You're more than welcome. We'll have you again. Thank you, Gail, and we will look forward now to the men's Madison ceremony, the last victory ceremony of these 2018 UCI Junior Track Cycling World Championships. It was an incredible battle, as you saw live on your TV screens or whichever smart device you were watching these championships upon. Remember, if you've missed any of the action, like to replay it, you can do so via the UCI YouTube channel. You can find the full coverage of each of the 5 days of competition for you to review and enjoy again. And we do thank you for joining us on our live stream. You know, it's been very popular once again. And we hope you enjoyed the racing. Couldn't fail to do that because it's been an incredible 5 days of competition for these junior riders. As we mentioned a few moments ago, only a day or so away from very many of them lining up once again here on the boards of the World Cycling Centre when the European Championships get underway. It's unusual for the order to be reversed. It's normally the European Championships happen a couple of weeks before the Worlds, but this time it's the other way around. Of course, quite a number of these riders who've taken the World Champions jersey will get to wear it in the European Championships during the course of the coming week. But the riders still toweling themselves off at the end of that all-out competition for the men's Madison. Making the way up to the respective steps of the podium very shortly to complete the celebrations. Our chief commissaire for the week, that's Luc Hebelik from Belgium, just making sure that all the riders comply with the requirements for the podium presentation. You know, the rules are surrounding this one as well, to make sure they're correctly attired and to present themselves in the correct way. So the Australians still can't quite believe it, still exchanging many celebratory gestures between them, as well they might. Belgians the Danish riders there as well, also getting congratulated. I was determined there were going to be Belgians in that Madison final, even though there weren't, but there you go, they are the Danish. And the riders will now come forward to receive the medals, the jerseys, and of course the all-important title of Junior World Madison Champions. So the medals and jersey were presented by Renato Di Rocco, Vice President of the UCI and Chairman of the Track Commission. And receiving the bronze medal are the team of Denmark. For Oliver Wolf Fredriksson and Matas Gunnar Malmberg. They have their bronze medals. Very hard-fought battle with the German team, but just getting the advantage in the final sprint. On to second place. And the team of Russian Federation, Gleb Surista and Lev Gonov are the silver medalists. Anxious to get onto the podium even before the medals have been presented. Gonov, the individual pursuit champion earlier in the week. And Gleb Surista, bronze medal in that same competition. And now the silver medals in the Madison. Now we come to the winners. The Australians, who pretty much dominated the race from the opening sprint. And celebrating now, becoming the Junior World Madison Champions. Blake Quick and Lucas Plapp of Australia are your champions. So Lucas Plapp adding a gold medal to the one he received in the points race. He's got a bronze in the team pursuit along with Blake here. Blake himself taking the bronze in the Omnium. Now they've both got the matching jerseys. Look at that. Even zipping each other's jersey up to make sure it looks absolutely perfect. There you go. Time for the gold medals. Excellent stuff. Great race, great champions. Celebrating the Australians are the world junior champions for the men's Madison. It's just some of the Australian contingent here inside the World Cycling Centre, cheering them on. They're almost about to get excited, all stepping onto the top of the podium, but they haven't had the flower presentation or indeed the anthem yet, so the Russians certainly looking to rush through this victory ceremony. The flowers are now being presented. So to the Russian Federation team, and then the final flower presentation to the victors, the team of Australia. Well, they've got a long flight to keep those flowers fresh on the way home, but I'm sure they'll have them in a suitable container to make sure they last as long as possible, because the celebrations for Australia, the Junior World Champions, as they now hear the national anthem of Australia. final ceremony. And now they can all take the top step of the podium. Bronze medal for Denmark, silver for Russian Federation, and gold for Australia. I think they're going to take some persuading to leave that podium, so delighted are our two medal winners for the overall title. Photographers making more demands upon them. They'll have to head off and sign some jerseys for our sponsor Santini. Just as we encourage some members of the team to join them for the photo opportunity as well. See that it's been an action-packed week for the Australian team, there with his arm in a sling. The tumbles that have been involved during the week, but it's been a great week for both the men and the women on the Australian junior team. They're all now taking the opportunity for a podium photograph. Joined by the coaches and team managers as well. It's been a complete team performance from Australia, by that victory in the Madison. Well, it's been an incredible 5 days, and it's been our absolute pleasure to bring you on live coverage every day once again. We've enjoyed it. Let's have a final look at the medal table at the end of the competition. Australia third. Those 3 golds. That's Italy with 4 gold medals. Germany also with 4 gold medals from one rider, from the winner of the Keirin we saw most recently. And that is the top of the medal table. France in 4th, Republic of Korea in 5th place. And further down the standings, so Kazakhstan, Belgium, India, Great Britain and Denmark. So many of these riders, as we've mentioned throughout the day, will be looking forward to just a couple of days' time when the same track will be hosting the European Championships. But now it is time for us to say goodbye to you from Aigle at the 2018 Junior Track Cycling World Championships. So on behalf of myself, Carl Lawrence, thank you for your company. Thank you to all of our team who've made the coverage possible. And here are just a few highlights to leave you with at the end of the 2018 Junior Track Cycling World Championships as we say goodbye from Aigle.